All right, let's dive into some advanced English idioms today. If you're listening to this, you're probably looking to seriously level up your English speaking, and we've got some great stuff to share with you today.
Absolutely.
We're going through this script. It's from another English idiom podcast, and it's got 19 of them. We're going to go through each one and really just dissect it, and by the end of this, you'll be sounding so natural, so native.
Like you were born speaking English.
Exactly, yeah. So the first one that I thought was interesting was play devil's advocate. I don't know, just that concept of playing devil's advocate, it seems kind of, I don't know, contradictory almost.
Yeah, well, it's about being deliberately taking a position you don't necessarily agree with just to kind of stimulate conversation.
Yeah.
And explore all sides of an issue.
It's like a mental exercise almost, right?
Yeah.
Like a pre-mortem for an idea.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So you're trying to find the weaknesses before they become real problems.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, cool. So how about this one? This one I've definitely run into before, the elephant in the room.
Oh, yeah.
This one is pretty common. I feel like most people know this one, but I think it's worth exploring.
Yeah, it's a good one. You know, that refers to that obvious problem that everyone's trying to ignore.
Right, and it's so awkward too, right? It's like everybody can feel it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you walk into a room and you just feel like something's off.
Yeah.
But nobody's saying anything.
Exactly, it's palpable.
Yeah, so awkward.
Yeah.
Okay, this is an important one in today's world.
Yes.
Take with a grain of salt. I feel like with so much information out there, and especially online, it's hard to know what to believe.
Yeah, that's very true.
Like you have to filter things, you have to consider the source, you have to look for bias, all of that.
You really do, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very discerning approach to taking in information, you know. It's recognizing that not everything is as it appears.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to question things a little bit.
I feel like the rise of sensationalized headlines and clickbait and all of that has made this idiom even more important than ever.
Absolutely, yeah, where it's designed to elicit an emotional reaction rather than, present you with the facts and let you come to a conclusion.
Right, right. So I like this one too. This one paints such a vivid picture, a flash in the pan.
That's a good one, yeah.
So this is something that bursts onto the scene. There's a lot of hype.
It has that promise.
It has that promise, yeah.
And then disappears just as quickly.
Right, like those viral trends,
Oh, yeah.
where everybody's obsessed for like a week and then poof, gone.
Yeah, or that friend who, starts all these new hobbies with such passion and enthusiasm, but then, a month later they've moved on to something else.
Yeah, yeah.
Their passion for pottery was just a flash in the pan.
Right, they're chasing the next shiny object.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, so the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, this is a great one, yeah.
So this idiom really emphasizes that what you see on the surface
is not the whole story.
There's so much more going on beneath.
Exactly, there's that hidden depth.
Right.
The complexity that's not immediately apparent.
It's like that saying, there's more to this story than meets the eye, right?
Exactly.
Makes me think of those true crime documentaries where they start with like a seemingly simple case, and then as they kind of unravel these different layers, it just gets more and more intricate.
Yeah, the more you peel back, the more you realize how much more there is.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Wow, this is fascinating stuff. All right, well, I think we need to take a break here. We've already covered some really, really powerful idioms.
We have, yeah.
But don't worry, we've got plenty more to unpack, so we'll be right back after a quick break to dive even deeper.
Sounds good.
All right, let's jump back into these advanced English idioms. We've got a lot more to cover.
We do.
Okay, so how about this one? Cut someone some slack. This is all about being understanding, right?
Yeah. Everyone makes mistakes and everyone's going through stuff, so it's about giving people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, like we don't always know what's going on in somebody's life.
Right.
So we should try to be understanding and give them a little bit of grace.
Exactly.
Okay, how about this one? This one sounds a little bit more challenging.
It does, yeah.
Sink or swim. I feel like this idiom really captures those situations where you're just thrown into the deep end.
Yeah, no support, you're on your own. Figure it out.
Exactly. And you either rise to the occasion or you sink.
Yeah.
It's a trial by fire, kind of.
It is, yeah. It can be a little harsh, but it can also be a good learning experience.
Yeah, like those entrepreneurs who launch their own businesses with no prior experience.
Oh, absolutely.
Talk about a sink or swim situation.
Oh, yeah. They really have to adapt quickly.
They have to learn on the fly.
Yeah.
Develop that resilience, that grit.
Yeah.
I like this one. A hard pill to swallow. This idiom always makes me think of those moments where you just have to accept a difficult truth.
Yeah, and it's not easy.
It's not easy.
It's a moment of realization, that kind of gut punch where you realize things have changed.
You can't ignore it anymore.
Yeah.
It's like ripping off a Band-Aid.
It stings at first,
Yeah.
but then you can start to heal.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, here's one that I think a lot of people can relate to. Hit the ceiling.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one.
I can especially see this one being used in those high-pressure work environments, like when that big project goes off the rails and everyone's stressed out trying to fix things.
Or someone makes a careless mistake.
Oh, yeah.
That costs the company a lot of money. Someone might hit the ceiling.
That boss is going to hit the ceiling for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, this idiom evokes a sense of calm for me.
It does, yeah.
Water under the bridge. I really like the imagery of this one. You know, like those past conflicts or problems, they're just gone. They're irrelevant now.
Yeah, let go of the grudges.
Focus on the present.
Move on.
Exactly. Like, hey, we messed up, we argued, but let's not let that define our relationship moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. It's in the past now.
It's water under the bridge.
Yeah.
Okay, jump ship. This one sounds a little bit more, I don't know, like you're running away from something.
It does, yeah. A little bit avoidant, maybe.
Avoidant, yeah.
It's about making a quick exit.
Like abandoning a sinking ship.
Exactly. Sometimes it's necessary.
Yeah.
Like if you're in a toxic work environment or a relationship that's no longer serving you, sometimes you have to jump ship.
Sometimes you got to jump ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, keep your cards close to your chest.
Ooh, this is a good one.
This one sounds like something you'd hear in a spy movie or something.
It does. A little bit of mystery.
A little bit of mystery, a little bit of strategy.
Strategy, definitely.
Don't want to reveal your plans too early.
Exactly. Got to maintain that element of surprise.
Keep them guessing. It makes me think of those poker games where everybody's trying to read each other.
Oh, yeah. High stakes.
High stakes, yeah. Figure out who's bluffing, who's got the winning hand.
Absolutely.
All about strategy.
Yeah.
Man, we've covered some really interesting idioms today.
We have.
I feel like I've learned a lot, but I'm a little intimidated to start using them. I don't know. They seem kind of advanced.
Yeah, well, I think the key is practice and exposure. Think of it like learning a new dance move. You're not just going to jump onto the dance floor and just nail it perfectly the first time. You have to practice.
Right.
Watch others. Gradually build up your confidence.
Yeah, so maybe I should start paying closer attention to how these idioms are used in, like, movies, TV shows, even just in casual conversations.
Yeah, train your ear to recognize them and understand the subtle ways that they're used to convey meaning. Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Right.
That's how we learn.
Maybe I'll try using them with my friends first,
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Low stakes.
Yeah.
Test run.
Yeah.
Your friends will probably get a kick out of it, too.
Yeah, hopefully.
But remember, context is key. You wouldn't wear a ball gown to a casual backyard barbecue.
Right.
You wouldn't use a formal idiom in a really relaxed setting.
Right.
So be mindful of the tone, the audience. Make sure the idiom fits the situation.
Like choosing the right spice, huh?
Exactly, yeah. Too much and it just overpowers the flavors. Just the right amount. You add that complexity and depth.
Yeah, I like that. All right, well, is there one idiom that you think would be good for our listeners to try using this week?
Well, given all the challenges we face in life, I think weather the storm is particularly relevant.
Oh, I like that one.
It's a good reminder that we have the strength to endure difficult times and come out stronger on the other side.
It's a great reminder.
Yeah.
So to all of our listeners out there, we challenge you to use weather the storm in a conversation this week.
You got this.
Yeah, and hopefully by using this idiom, maybe you can even inspire somebody else.
That'd be great.
That's it for this deep dive.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you on the next one.
See you then. Okay, so have you ever totally bombed a joke?
Oh.
Because you used the wrong idiom?
Yeah.
I did just the other day. I tried to be funny with pull someone's leg, and let's just say it did not land.
Yeah.
I need to brush up on my idioms.
It happens. Idioms are tricky. They can make you sound super fluent or totally clueless,
right,
depending on how you use them.
Exactly. Which is why I have a stack of notes here all about common idioms.
Okay.
Especially for someone like you learning English. We're going to extract the most useful ones.
Right.
The kind that will really boost your everyday conversations. Ready to dive in?
Absolutely. Idioms are like secret codes to sounding like a native speaker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's start with idioms all about taking action.
Right.
I feel like these are essential for navigating any situation, whether it's at work with friends or even just ordering food.
Yeah.
First up, cut to the chase.
Ah, yes. Cut to the chase. No time for small talk.
Right.
You want to get straight to the point. Imagine you're watching a movie and skip ahead to the most exciting part. That's cutting to the chase.
So instead of saying something like, well, I was thinking maybe we could,
Right.
you just say, let's cut to the chase. What's the plan?
Exactly. It shows you're confident and efficient, which people always appreciate. I bet you could have used that in that meeting last week.
Oh,
That just dragged on and on.
tell me about it. We could have saved so much time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next up, throw in the towel.
This one is all about admitting defeat. Think of a boxer who's just not going to win.
Okay.
His coach throws in the towel to stop the fight.
Right.
Sometimes you have to recognize when a battle is lost, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're working on a project and it's just not happening,
Right.
no matter how hard you try, maybe it's time to throw in the towel and focus your energy elsewhere.
It's not about giving up entirely. It's about being smart and knowing when to move on to something more productive. Have you ever been in that situation?
Definitely. I think we all have. Sometimes it's a relief to throw in the towel.
Yeah.
And admit it's just not working. Okay, last one in this taking action category.
Okay.
The ball is in your court.
This one is like a tennis match. When the ball is on your side of the net, it's your turn to hit it back. It's your responsibility to make the next move.
So let's say you and a friend are making plans.
Yeah.
And you've done all the research, found the flights, booked the hotel.
Yeah.
Now it's up to your friend to decide if they're in or out. You could say, okay, the ball is in your court. What do you think?
Exactly. You've done your part. Now it's their turn.
Okay.
Speaking of taking responsibility,
Yeah.
our next set of idioms is all about perseverance and attitude,
Yeah.
starting with face the music.
Ooh, that one sounds a little intense.
Well, it's about accepting the consequences of your actions,
Okay.
even if they're not so pleasant. Like if you made a mistake at work and now you have to explain yourself to your boss,
Oh, yeah.
no escaping it, you have to face the music.
So it's like own up to what happened and deal with it, right? No running away, no making excuses.
Exactly. It's about taking responsibility and learning from the experience.
Mm-hmm.
It can be tough, but it's an important part of growth.
Yeah.
Speaking of bouncing back from tough situations,
Okay.
the next idiom is keep your chin up.
That one seems pretty straightforward, right? Stay positive even when things get tough.
Yes, but think about it physically. Keeping your chin up literally means holding your head high.
Oh.
It's a physical reminder to stay strong and resilient,
Oh.
even when you feel like giving up.
I never thought of it like that.
Yeah,
Like your body is giving your mind a pep talk.
exactly.
Okay, last one in this set of perseverance idioms is leave no stone unturned.
This one means to be completely thorough in your search for something.
Okay.
Like a detective solving a case, they check every clue, every lead. They leave no stone unturned.
So if you have a goal you're really passionate about,
Right.
and you're willing to try every possible way to achieve it, you could say you're leaving no stone unturned.
Precisely. It's about that relentless pursuit of what you want,
Yeah.
that determination to explore every avenue. Now, speaking of pursuing something,
Okay.
let's move on to a group of idioms all about communication and understanding.
Perfect. I feel like these are key to navigating social situations,
Yeah.
especially in a new language. First up, we have read between the lines.
Ah, this one is all about understanding the hidden messages,
Okay.
the things that aren't said directly.
Uh-huh.
Imagine someone says they're fine, but their tone of voice and body language tell a different story.
Right.
You have to read between the lines to get the real message.
So it's like being a detective of emotions.
Yes.
Looking for clues beyond just the words themselves.
Exactly. It's about understanding the subtext, the context,
Yeah.
the unspoken feelings behind what's being said. This is especially important in relationships and delicate situations, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes what's not said is just as important as what I said.
That's true.
Okay, moving on to hit the nail on the head.
This means to say something that is perfectly accurate
Okay.
and get straight to the heart of the matter. Like a carpenter hitting a nail with one perfect swing, there's no missing the mark.
So if you're giving feedback on a project and you pinpoint the exact problem that needs to be addressed,
Yeah.
you could say you hit the nail on the head.
Yes, it's about expressing yourself with clarity and precision, leaving no room for doubt. Okay, last one in this communication trio. beat around the bush.
This one seems like the opposite of cut to the chase.
Right?
Like instead of being direct, you're kind of avoiding the main point.
Exactly. Imagine you have to tell someone some bad news.
Okay.
But you don't want to hurt their feelings.
Right.
So you kind of dance around the topic instead of just coming right out and saying it.
Mm-hmm.
That's beating around the bush.
It's like you're circling around the issue without ever really addressing it directly.
Which can be frustrating for the person you're talking to.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little directness, even if it's uncomfortable, can save everyone a lot of time and misunderstanding. Now, speaking of situations that can sometimes be uncomfortable,
Okay.
our next set of idioms is all about unexpected outcomes.
Okay, this is getting interesting. I love how these idioms are all connected.
Yeah.
So what's the first one in this unexpected outcomes category?
It's jump on the bandwagon. This one captures that human tendency to follow trends,
Okay.
to join in when something becomes popular or successful.
Like when a new song comes out and suddenly everyone's listening to it.
Yeah.
Or maybe a new social media platform takes off and all your friends are using it.
Exactly. It can be harmless fun to jump on the bandwagon.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also important to think for yourself and not just follow the crowd blindly.
Right.
Wouldn't you agree?
Totally.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to be a little bit of contrarian.
Okay, what's next?
This one is a classic, a blessing in disguise.
Okay.
It's about those times when something that seems bad at first actually turns out to be a good thing in the long run.
Like if you lose your job, which is obviously a bummer.
But then you end up finding an even better one
Right.
that you're more passionate about.
Exactly. A blessing in disguise. It reminds us that there's often a silver lining to difficult situations, even if we can't see it at the time.
Yeah.
Have you ever had one of those blessings in disguise moments?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It's amazing how often what seems like a setback
Yeah.
ends up leading to something even better.
Ah,
Okay, last one in this category.
okay.
Let sleeping dogs lie. This one always makes me think of a big lazy dog that you just don't want to disturb.
It's a perfect image. This idiom means to avoid stirring up trouble or bringing up past conflicts that are best left alone. Like if you and a friend had an argument a while back and you've both moved on,
Yeah.
it's probably best to let sleeping dogs lie and not bring it up again.
Sometimes it's just not worth rehashing old arguments,
Right.
especially if they're just going to lead to more negativity.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we have time for one more set of idioms.
Okay.
Before we wrap up this section of our deep dive. What do we got?
This last group is all about going above and beyond, putting in that extra effort to achieve something special. And I think you'll appreciate this first one, bite off more than you can chew.
Ooh, I know that feeling. Well, I'm definitely guilty of taking on too much sometimes.
It happens to the best of us. It's like taking a huge bite of food and then realizing you can't actually chew it all.
Right.
You end up feeling overwhelmed and stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about being realistic about your capacity and not overcommitting yourself to things you can't handle.
Exactly. It's important to know your limits and set boundaries so you don't end up feeling burnt out and discouraged.
Right.
Speaking of pushing yourself to the limit, the next idiom is burn the midnight oil.
This one makes me think of those late night study sessions.
Yeah.
Fueled by coffee and the sheer will to finish a project.
It's about working late into the night, sacrificing sleep to get something done.
Okay.
Back in the day, people would literally burn oil lamps to light their workspace when they had to work late.
So it's about dedication and that willingness to put in the extra hours, even if it means missing out on some sleep.
It's a testament to that drive and determination that often leads to success.
Right.
Okay, last one in this set, and I think it's a perfect way to wrap up this section on going above and beyond.
Right.
Go the extra mile.
I love this one.
Yeah.
It's about exceeding expectations, doing more than what's required,
Yeah.
putting in that extra effort that really makes a difference.
Exactly. Think of a marathon runner who, instead of stopping at the finish line, keeps running just a little bit further.
Wow.
It's that extra effort, that dedication to excellence that sets them apart.
Go the extra mile.
Yeah.
It's a great motto for life in general, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's about striving for excellence in everything you do and always looking for ways to exceed expectations. Now, before we move on to the next section,
Okay.
there's one idiom we wanted to revisit, one that can be a bit tricky
Okay.
and often leads to misunderstandings. You're talking about pull someone's leg, right?
Yeah. I totally fumbled that one earlier.
That's the one. It means to playfully tease someone, to joke with them, but it's all about tone and context. If you don't deliver it right, it can easily be misinterpreted.
Yeah, I think the person I was talking to thought I was actually trying to trick them, not just being silly.
Yeah.
What's the secret to using this idiom correctly?
Well, first of all, make sure you have a good rapport with the person you're joking with.
Okay.
You wouldn't want to pull someone's leg if you don't know them well.
Right.
Or if they're easily offended.
Right. You have to read the room and make sure it's appropriate.
And then it's all about your delivery.
Okay.
A playful smile, a wink, a lighthearted tone of voice. These can all help to signal that you're just joking.
So it's not just about the words themselves, it's about the whole vibe you're giving off.
Right.
It's like a secret code that only works if you know the handshake.
Exactly. Pull someone's leg is a perfect example of how mastering idioms goes beyond just knowing the definition. You have to understand the cultural nuances and the unspoken rules of communication.
Great point.
Yeah.
Okay, to make sure we've really got a handle on all these awesome idioms,
Yeah.
let's try putting them into practice.
Yeah.
I was thinking we could role play a little scenario,
All right.
like we're having a real conversation. What do you think?
I'm game. Let's do it.
Okay, here's the scene. Two friends are catching up, and one of them has just quit their job.
Okay.
I'll be friend A, and you be friend of B.
Righty.
Ready when you are.
All right, here we go. Hey, I heard you quit your job. What happened? Don't leave me hanging.
Well, things were rough. My boss was a real piece of work, and I just couldn't keep my chin up anymore. I had to throw in the towel.
Wow, that's tough. But you know what? Sometimes those things are a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
You never know what amazing opportunities might be waiting for you.
You're right. I'm trying to stay positive. For now, I'm just going to hit the ground running on my new project and see where it takes me. See, we just used a bunch of idioms supernaturally.
Right.
Without even thinking about it.
Exactly. That's how you know you're starting to really master them. They become part of your everyday vocabulary.
So to our listener, imagine yourself in this situation. Could you see yourself using these idioms to express yourself?
Absolutely.
I bet you can.
The more you practice, the more confident you'll become. And pretty soon you'll be hitting the nail on the head with your idiom usage every time.
I love it. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, explored some really useful idioms that can help you sound more fluent and confident in your English conversations.
Absolutely.
But before we go, I wanted to touch on one more idiom that I think is perfect
Okay.
for sparking conversations and getting people to open up.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. Which one is it?
It's a penny for your thoughts.
Yeah.
I love how simple and yet so effective this one is.
Yeah.
It's a gentle way of asking someone what they're thinking about, inviting them to share their inner world.
It's such a lovely expression, isn't it? It shows genuine interest in the other person.
Right.
And creates a space for them to share what's on their mind.
Exactly. And it's not literally about offering money, of course.
Yeah.
It's about acknowledging that someone's thoughts and feelings are valuable and worth listening to.
It's like saying, I'm curious about what's going on in that mind of yours. I'd love to hear your perspective.
It's a great way to build rapport and encourage deeper conversations. Now, speaking of deep conversations, I was thinking we could wrap up this deep dive with a final thought-provoking question for our listener. Something to really get them thinking about how they can apply these idioms to their own lives.
I love that idea. What do you have in mind?
Well, out of all the idioms we discussed today, which one resonated with you the most? And in what situation do you think you'll use it first?
That's a great question. It encourages our listener to not just passively absorb the information, but to actively think about how they can integrate these idioms
into their own communication style.
Exactly. Learning a language is all about making it your own.
Yeah.
Finding those expressions that really speak to you and using them to connect with others.
And remember, don't be afraid to experiment, to play with these idioms to make them your own.
Right.
That's how you truly master a language and make it come alive.
Beautifully said. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into essential idioms.
Yes.
I hope you've enjoyed this journey as much as we have and that you're feeling inspired to go out there and use these idioms to boost your conversational fluency and connect with the world in a whole new way.
And as you continue on your language learning adventure, remember to embrace the process.
Right.
Have fun with it and never stop exploring the richness and beauty of the English language.
I think for me, it's a blessing in disguise. It's like such a good reminder that even when things go wrong, something good can come out of it.
It's a great one to keep in mind, especially when you're feeling discouraged.
It helps you see the possibilities even in challenging situations.
Well, I think we really hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
With this deep dive into essential idioms. We've explored so many useful phrases,
We have.
and I feel like you, our listener, are well on your way to mastering them.
It's been a pleasure unpacking these idioms with you. They really are the key to unlocking a whole new level of fluency and expressiveness in English.
And remember, the best way to learn is just start using them.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to experiment. Have fun with it.
Exactly.
And see how these idioms can enrich your everyday conversations.
The more you practice, the more natural they'll become.
Right.
And soon you'll be using them effortlessly without even thinking about it.
So to our listener, we hope this deep dive has been helpful and inspiring.
Absolutely.
Keep practicing, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep having fun with the English language.
And remember, as you go out there and try these idioms in the real world, if you ever need a refresher, we're always here for you. Just dive back into this episode and let those idioms fly.
Hey everyone, ready for today's deep dive? We're going to be tackling idioms, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, idioms. They can be tough to learn, but
They really do add, well, like color and personality to your English, you know? Like it's raining cats and dogs, but obviously there aren't actually any animals falling from the sky.
right. And that's what makes idioms so interesting. They go beyond just the literal meaning of the words. They can express feelings and like paint a picture in your mind.
Exactly. And once you understand them, using them confidently just makes you sound so much more natural. It's like you've leveled up your English.
It really is.
So today we're diving into 19 everyday English idioms to help you all sound more like a native speaker.
I can't wait to get started.
Okay, let's kick things off with a pretty simple idiom. A piece of cake. Now, I do love cake, but I have a feeling this isn't about dessert.
You're right. It's not about dessert. It just means that something is super easy to do, like, enjoying a piece of cake. It's a breeze.
So, like, that math problem was a piece of cake. Got it. But why cake? Is there a reason we use cake to express that something's easy?
Well, it's interesting, right? I mean, cake is like associated with celebrations and good times. It's enjoyable, so it makes sense that we'd use it to represent something pleasant and easy.
I guess that makes sense. Okay, next up is break a leg. Now, this one always sounds kind of ominous to me. Are we wishing someone an injury?
Haha. No, it's actually a way of wishing someone good luck, like right before a performance or a big event.
Oh, okay, good. But why would we use such a negative-sounding phrase?
Well, there are a few theories. One is that it comes from theatrical superstitions. Some say that if you bow to the audience after a good show, people might surge forward and you could, like, break a leg.
Huh. So it's like tempting fate in a way?
Maybe. But it's always meant to be encouraging, not a real threat.
Okay, so break a leg for good luck. I'm starting to see how idioms can add so much depth to our language.
They do. They're packed with cultural references and history, and sometimes a bit of humor, too.
Right. All right, on to the next one. Under the weather. This one always sounds a bit vague to me. Does it literally mean being caught in a storm?
Well, no, not literally. It just means you're not feeling well. Like maybe you have a cold or a headache.
So it's a polite way of saying you're a little sick without giving all the gory details.
Exactly. And, it's a common way to excuse yourself from something if you're not feeling up to it.
Right. I've definitely used that one myself. Now, what if you're under the weather and need to get some rest? Well, you might hit the sack early, but this makes me think of someone attacking their bed.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's a funny image, isn't it? But it just means to go to bed.
Oh, okay. Much less violent than I imagined.
It's a pretty informal way of saying goodnight.
Got it.
Yeah.
So let's say you had a long day, you're feeling a little under the weather, and you're ready to hit the sack. But first, you might call it a day. Does that mean, like, giving the day a name?
No, not quite. Call it a day means to stop working on something, to wrap things up.
So you're done for the day.
Right. Whether it's work, school, or even just a personal project, you've put in the effort, now it's time to relax.
Makes sense. So we've just decoded 5 pretty common English idioms. How are you feeling? Ready to try some of these out?
Hopefully they're starting to feel a bit more familiar now.
Me too. But don't worry, we've got a whole bunch more to go. Next, we'll explore idioms you might hear when making plans or dealing with those sometimes awkward social situations. Stay tuned.
This is where things get really fun. Idioms can tell us a lot about a culture's social norms and how people interact.
I can't wait. Okay, let's jump into some idioms you might hear, well, when you're making plans or just, navigating those tricky social situations.
Right. These are the phrases that can really help you understand how people interact, the unspoken rules of communication.
Okay, I like that. First up is hang in there. It sounds like advice you'd give to someone hanging off a cliff, but...
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? But no cliffs involved.
Okay, good. So what does it really mean?
It means to stay strong, Don't give up, persevere. It's encouragement. Like you're telling someone they can get through a tough time.
So it's like a verbal pat on the back.
Exactly.
I like it. Now, for once in a blue moon, this one makes me think of like a rare astronomical event. Am I close?
You are. It means something that happens very rarely. Like, I only eat pizza once in a blue moon. It just emphasizes how infrequently you do something.
Oh, so it's about those rare treats or occurrences. Okay, got it. Okay, this next one sounds a bit, juicy. Spill the beans. Does this involve any actual beans?
Haha, no, unless we're talking about top secret recipes or something. Spill the beans means to reveal a secret.
Okay, so it's like letting information slip out.
Exactly, sometimes unintentionally, yeah.
So like, oops, I wasn't supposed to say that. Which brings us to let the cat out of the bag, which also seems to be about secrets.
Yeah, it is. It means the same thing. You've accidentally revealed a secret. It's just another way of saying, spill the beans.
So 2 ways to say the same thing. I'll try not to get them mixed up. Now, this one sounds kind of dramatic. Cost an arm and a leg? Are we like talking about pirate negotiations here?
No pirates. It just means that something is really, really expensive.
Oh, so it's a way of expressing like shock at a high price. Like, that car costs an arm and a leg.
Right, a much more colorful way of saying that something's too expensive.
I like it. Okay, I'm feeling more confident about navigating these social situations with these idioms. But what about like those phrases we use in everyday conversations? The ones that just kind of pop up all the time.
Yeah, those are the idioms that you really start using without even thinking about it. Like second nature, they're everywhere.
Okay, let's hit the books and explore those. Does this one mean to actually throw books around?
Only if you're really frustrated with your studies.
Okay, good. So what does it really mean?
It just means to study, to focus on your schoolwork.
A more exciting way to say study, I guess. Okay, now for a pretty simple one, take it easy. Is it really as straightforward as it sounds?
Pretty much. It means to relax, don't get stressed. It's like, chill out, don't take things too seriously.
Good advice. Okay, next. The ball is in your court. Are we playing tennis now?
Sort of. It means it's your turn to make a decision or take action. You have the responsibility to move things forward.
So if someone says the ball is in your court, they're waiting for me to respond.
Exactly. They've done their part. Now it's up to you.
Okay, I get it. Now for one that doesn't sound too pleasant, bite the bullet.
Yeah, not the most pleasant image.
So what does it mean?
It means to do something difficult or unpleasant that you've been avoiding, like facing a challenge head on.
Oh, so like just do it, even if you don't want to. Okay, I can handle that. And last one for this section, feeling blue. Is this like a fashion choice?
No. It means feeling sad or depressed.
Okay, so it's a way of expressing sadness.
Exactly, like I'm feeling a bit blue today.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground here with these everyday idioms. I'm starting to feel like I could actually use these without sounding like a total weirdo.
That's the goal. The more you use them, the more natural they'll become.
You're right. Okay, are you ready for the final challenge?
Absolutely.
Let's explore some idioms that are perfect for, ending a conversation smoothly. Those graceful exits can be tricky sometimes.
They can, but a well-placed idiom can definitely help.
Okay, so graceful exits. I'm ready to master the art of saying goodbye smoothly.
It is an art, isn't it? Let's see if these idioms can help.
Perfect.
Okay, how about this one? Pull someone's leg. Sounds a bit mischievous, right?
Yeah, it does. Like I'm imagining someone literally pulling on someone's leg as a joke.
Well, it's not quite that literal. It just means to joke with someone. In a playful way, to tease a bit.
Oh, so like if someone tells a story that's hard to believe, you could say, "Are you pulling my leg?"
Exactly, you're catching on quickly.
I'm trying. Okay, what about keep an eye on? Does that mean like I'm spying on someone?
Well, not necessarily spying. It just means to watch over something or someone carefully.
So it could be literal, like can you keep an eye on my stuff?
Right.
Or more figurative.
Right. Like keep an eye on that situation. It just means to pay attention.
Okay, got it. Now let's say I'm ready to hit the road. Does that mean I'm going on a road trip?
Not necessarily, though it would be fun. It just means to leave, to depart.
Oh, so it's a more casual way of saying goodbye.
Exactly. Time to hit the road.
All right, last idiom for today. No pain, no gain. I feel like this one's about, like, working out, pushing yourself at the gym.
You're right. It often is used in that context. But it really means that, to achieve something, you have to put in the effort. There's going to be some struggle involved.
So it's not just physical pain. It can be any kind of challenge.
Right. If you want to reach your goals, sometimes you have to push through some discomfort.
I like that. It's motivating. Well, we've learned a lot today. 19 idioms in total, right?
That's right. A whole arsenal of new expressions.
I have to say, I feel a lot more confident about using these in my own conversations.
That's fantastic. That's what we wanted to achieve. Language is about expressing yourself and connecting with others.
Absolutely. And idioms can really help with that.
They really can. What did you find most interesting about today's deep dive?
I think what really stood out to me is how much history and culture are packed into these seemingly simple phrases.
That's so true. They're like little windows into how people think and communicate.
Exactly. And using them correctly can make you sound more natural and fluent.
Definitely. So keep practicing, keep exploring, and have fun with these idioms.
I will. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
That's all for today, everyone. Thanks for listening. All right, everyone, get ready, because today we are going deep, deep into something fascinating, and that is how to sound like a native English speaker. And not just any English, but that casual, everyday English. The kind of stuff that those textbooks just don't teach you. We're using this really cool script from an advanced English learning podcast, so it's not beginner stuff. And get this, there are 29 phrases packed into this thing. 29 phrases that are going to level up your English, especially if you're wanting to sound more like a native speaker.
What's really cool about these phrases is that they often go way beyond what they actually mean on the surface.
Oh, like what? Give me an example.
Okay, so for example, they often reveal subtle cultural norms, stuff you won't find in a textbook, or even communication styles. You start to get a deeper understanding of how we native speakers, how we actually interact with each other.
I love that. It's like we're unlocking a secret code to understand, like, the culture behind the language.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's just jump right in, why don't we? The first phrase that it got my eye, and I was kind of like, is this one. Can't complain. Now tell me, isn't that kind of a negative thing to say? Like, are we all supposed to just pretend like everything's perfect all the time?
Okay, so it might seem that way, like just reading it, on the surface, but in reality, it's a super common response in casual American small talk. It's not about denying any struggles, but rather it's kind of a subtle way of just indicating that things are, okay, generally. It's not like necessarily amazing, but it's not, bad enough to start complaining about.
Oh, so it's kind of like a social lubricant, like keeping the conversation, keeping it light and positive, without getting too deep into it.
Exactly, like a little conversational oil, if you will.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like saying life's happening, but I'm hanging in there.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
Okay, so speaking of navigating those ups and downs of life, how about fair enough? Now that seems pretty straightforward, right? You're just agreeing with someone.
Yeah, it does convey agreement, like a basic level of agreement. But there's something else going on here. There's a really fascinating power dynamic at play that I think a lot of people miss. It acknowledges the other person's point, but you don't necessarily have to concede your own. It's kind of like you're saying, I hear ya, and I respect your perspective, but I may not completely agree.
Ooh, okay. So it's a way of acknowledging someone's opinion without maybe getting pulled into a debate that you just don't want to have.
Exactly.
I can see that being super useful in those tricky situations, where you want to be respectful, but you also want to stand your ground.
You got it.
Okay, now the next phrase. I'm not going to lie, it kind of threw me for a loop. Okay, here it is. I'm not really into that. Now it just seems like a pretty basic way to, like, express your dislike for something, but is there something more to it?
You're right. It does convey dislike, but it does it in a much more polite and indirect way than just saying straight up, I don't like that. It's kind of like softening the blow, so to speak, And it really helps you avoid sounding harsh or judgmental, which, nobody wants to do.
So it's about finding that balance between, like, honesty and politeness. I guess sometimes you just don't want to crush someone's, like, enthusiasm, even if you're not exactly a fan of, whatever they're talking about.
Yeah, like their favorite band, maybe.
Exactly, or their favorite band.
Yeah.
This next one I hear all the time, especially when I'm trying to, like, make a point and the other person's like, you got me,
Yeah.
But they don't want to admit it, so they kind of change the subject. This is it. That's beside the point.
Yeah. It can definitely be used in those situations you're talking about,
Yeah.
but it also has like a broader purpose in conversations. It's a way of kind of politely telling the other person, hey, that information you're giving me, it's irrelevant to the main topic.
Right.
So you can use it to bring the focus back to the core issue. So you don't go down these conversational rabbit holes.
So it's like saying, hey, interesting anecdote, but let's stick to the facts here.
Exactly.
Okay. This next one, I feel like this is so American. It's the no big deal. I feel like it's all about just downplaying situations and maintaining that like casual, relaxed vibe,
Yeah, you're right on the money. It's minimizing the significance of something. It's often used, when someone's apologizing for a minor mishap or something. It just reassures them that you're not bothered.
Right.
And it just helps to maintain a harmonious atmosphere.
So if someone bumps into you accidentally or, spills a little bit of their drink on you or something, you just say, no big deal. And it's like a verbal chill pill, letting them know, hey, it's all good.
Totally.
I can see how that kind of contributes to a more laid back and forgiving social environment. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's about fostering understanding and flexibility in social interactions, which is so key.
Okay. I have to admit, this next phrase I read, I was a bit confused. I was like, what does this even mean? Here it is. I wouldn't say no to that. I mean, why not just say yes?
Right.
It just seems like a very roundabout way of accepting something.
Yeah, it might seem indirect, but it's actually a very polite and understated way of expressing interest. It conveys enthusiasm while maintaining a touch of modesty.
Okay.
So you're basically saying, I'm interested, but I don't want to seem too eager.
Interesting. So there's a cultural element at play here. This subtle dance between expressing interest without appearing overly enthusiastic, I guess. Is there a particular context where this phrase is most commonly used?
Yeah, you'll often hear it when someone is being offered something like it could be a piece of cake, an invitation to an event, or even a job opportunity, anything like that.
Right.
And it's just a way of accepting gracefully while maintaining a sense of decorum.
That makes a lot of sense. I can definitely see the cultural nuance there. Okay, let's move on to, it slipped my mind. I think we've all been there, right? Forgetting something important.
Oh, yeah.
Even though you were trying to remember it.
Happens to the best of us. Yeah, it's that moment when your memory fails you. This phrase is a gentler way of admitting you've forgotten something than, just blurting out, oops, I forgot.
Right. It's not as harsh.
Yeah. It softens the blow and it just makes you sound more relatable.
Yeah. It's like acknowledging that, we're all human. Our brains have these occasional glitches.
For sure.
So instead of beating yourself up over, a forgotten task or like an appointment or something, we can use this phrase to acknowledge the oversight while, maintaining a sense of humor about it.
Exactly. It's about, being kind to ourselves.
Right.
Recognizing that these things happen.
All right, let's tackle a phrase that's essential for navigating those passionate disagreements. This one, let's agree to disagree. I feel like this one is a lifesaver when you're stuck in a conversation where you and the other person just can't seem to see eye to eye.
Yeah, it's a really valuable tool for preserving relationships. You can respect differing viewpoints. You're basically saying, hey, we've reached an impasse here, but it's okay to have different perspectives. You don't have to let it escalate into a conflict.
It's like waving a white flag and saying, we're not going to solve this right now, but let's not let it ruin our day.
Yeah.
It's a great way to maintain harmony, especially in social situations where you don't want to start World War III over something trivial.
Right, exactly. It's about picking your battles.
Right.
Recognizing that sometimes it's better to agree to disagree than to force a resolution that might damage the relationship.
Yeah, some things just aren't worth it.
Exactly.
Okay. This next one seems like it's straight out of like a 90s teen movie. Here it is. I'm down for that. Does anyone actually still say that?
It might have peaked in popularity back in the 90s, but it's still around. You'll hear it, especially among younger generations.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just a really casual and enthusiastic way to express interest or agreement, particularly when it comes to social activities.
So it's like a cooler, more laid-back way of saying, I'm in, or count me in. It captures that sense of spontaneity and excitement, right?
It conveys a sense of, you're up for anything, ready for an adventure.
Okay, let's talk about those moments when we want to, kind of keep our options open. I'm talking about let's play it by ear. I feel like this is the perfect phrase for those who don't like to plan too far in advance.
Yeah, totally. You're absolutely right. It's basically saying, hey, let's see how things go, or we'll decide later. It's perfect for situations where you want to be flexible, adapt to changing circumstances.
It's like embracing the unknown and being open to spontaneity, which is a great way to live life, I think. So if someone asks about your weekend plans and you're not quite sure yet, let's play by ear is a great way to keep things casual.
Yeah,
Avoid making promises you might not be able to keep.
exactly.
This next one always makes me smile. I'll take a rain check. It sounds so quaint.
It's kind of old-fashioned, yeah.
Yeah, like something out of a vintage movie or something. Is there a story behind this phrase?
Yeah, actually there is. It goes all the way back to the 1800s.
Wow.
So baseball games would often get postponed because of rain,
Right.
and they would give these tickets, they call them rain checks, to spectators so they could attend a future game.
Wow, I had no idea. So it evolved from an actual ticket to a way of saying, I can't make it now, but I would love to reschedule. That's fascinating how language evolves over time, taking on new meanings, but it's still holding on to a bit of its history.
Yeah, I love that about language.
Okay, all right. I have a confession to make. I use this next phrase a lot, especially when I'm trying to gently let someone down easy. I wouldn't count on it. It's a way of expressing doubt without being too harsh.
Yeah, you got it. It's a subtle way to manage expectations.
Right.
Prepare someone for the possibility that something might not go their way.
So if a friend is overly optimistic about winning the lottery, for example, you could use this phrase to, temper their expectations without crushing their dreams. It's like saying, hey, I admire your optimism, but let's be realistic here.
Exactly, yeah. Just inject a dose of realism.
Okay, we're about to enter the world of business English, which, that can be a whole different ballgame.
Oh, yeah, it's a whole other beast.
We're starting with let's touch base. I always picture a very awkward high five when I hear this phrase.
Right, yeah. It does conjure up some amusing imagery, but in the business world, it's a very common way of saying, let's check in, or, let's follow up later. Usually you're scheduling a future conversation and you're going to talk about, some specific topic, usually related to a project, some ongoing work.
So if you're working on a project with someone, you might say, hey, let's touch base next week, to see how things are progressing.
Exactly, yeah. It's a way to stay connected, ensure everyone's on the same page.
It's all about that communication, right?
It is
Keeping those
important.
lines open.
Yeah. Key phrase for effective communication, for collaboration in those professional settings. It keeps projects moving forward, prevents those misunderstandings.
Okay, this next one is for all the busy bees out there. This is, I'll keep you posted. It's like the promise that you make when you know you're going to be swamped with work, but you still want to assure someone. Like, hey, I haven't forgotten about you.
Yeah, it's about managing expectations. It's often used when someone is waiting for news, maybe about a decision or an outcome or something. It's just a nice way of keeping them in the loop.
So if someone's eagerly awaiting an update on a project proposal, you could use this phrase to let them know, hey, I'm thinking about you. I haven't forgotten about you. I'll share information as soon as I have it.
Exactly.
It's all about maintaining that open line of communication.
Yes, transparency and building trust, which is crucial in any professional relationship.
Okay, speaking of being overwhelmed, let's talk about I'm swamped. Pretty clear signal that you've got a lot on your plate, right?
Oh, yeah. It's a very direct way of saying, hey, I am super busy. I have very limited capacity to take on anything else right now.
So if someone asks you to take on another project, when you're already juggling multiple deadlines, I'm swamped.
Yeah.
Is a way to, to set a boundary and protect your time without sounding, rude or dismissive.
Absolutely.
It's about being honest about your workload and setting those realistic expectations.
Yes, it's about prioritizing managing your time effectively, which is, essential for maintaining productivity and avoiding burnout.
Right. Nobody wants to burn out.
Nobody.
This next phrase sounds a bit intimidating. That's not going to fly. I can almost hear it being delivered with a stern look and a wagging finger,
It can have that tone, you're not wrong, but it just indicates that something is unacceptable. It's not going to be
When
approved.
someone proposes an idea that's completely out of line with, company policy or, ethical standards or something, you could use this phrase to just shut it down quickly and firmly.
Yeah, it's like, Nice try, but that's a hard no.
Exactly.
Yeah, it establishes clear boundaries and it just prevents wasting time on ideas that are just not feasible or appropriate.
We've covered a lot of ground already, but I feel like there's still so much more to explore.
There is, yeah.
These everyday phrases is like they're little windows into like the heart of English communication,
Yeah.
They reveal so much about the culture and those subtle nuances of social interaction. It's fascinating.
It really is. Language is a constantly evolving tapestry, and by delving into these everyday expressions, I think we can gain a deeper understanding of how people connect and communicate in the real world.
Well, I'm having a lot of fun, but I think we should probably take a little pause right here.
I agree.
Catch our breath, and we'll be back in a jiffy to dive into the next set of phrases.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll be back soon with part 2.
Welcome back to our deep dive into these intricate, everyday English phrases. It's amazing how much we can learn about a culture by examining the way people speak. Wouldn't you say?
I totally agree. It's fascinating. I feel like we've uncovered so many little hidden gems, these little phrases that, native speakers just use without even thinking about it. But they can be a little tricky if you're learning English, It's like we're cracking some kind of secret code, to unlock those secrets to fluent communication. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. We're really getting into those subtle nuances and the cultural context that give these phrases their true meaning.
Right.
And speaking of subtle nuances, let's jump back in with a phrase that I thought was really interesting. It's a long shot, but what do you think about that one? It's a pretty curious mix of optimism and realism, isn't it?
It is. It's like acknowledging that, yeah, the odds might be stacked against you, but you're still holding on to a little bit of hope.
Right.
I wonder, do you think this reflects like maybe something about like the American mindset, that whole can-do spirit, even when faced with, big challenges?
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. It could definitely be seen as a reflection of that, that perseverance and determination that are often associated with American culture. It's about not giving up, even when the chances of success seem really, really slim.
Right. So if you're like applying for a dream job, for example, and like hundreds of other people are applying for the same job, you might say, well, it's a long shot, but I'm going to give it my all.
Yeah.
You're acknowledging the reality, but you're still holding on to that belief in possibilities. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance. You're acknowledging your limitations, but you're still maintaining that sense of hope.
Yeah.
And that you have, some control over the situation.
Right. Okay, this next phrase feels like a universal disclaimer. It's got a get out of jail free card. I'm talking about, don't quote me on that. It's like a shield to protect yourself from being held accountable for information that might not be, 100% accurate.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
I feel like I hear this a lot when people are sharing, gossip or rumors or stuff like that.
Yeah, you're right. It's often used in situations where the information is a bit, shaky, maybe unreliable.
Right.
And it's basically saying, hey, I'm passing this along, but don't take it as gospel. You can share information without fully endorsing its validity.
So it's kind of a way of navigating those, those gray areas where you're not really sure about the facts, but you still want to, be part of the conversation. I guess it's also a way to protect yourself from, getting in trouble if the information turns out to be wrong.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It can definitely save you some awkwardness down the line.
Okay, giving advice. Giving advice can be tricky. It's like a real art form.
Yeah.
It's all about finding that sweet spot between, being helpful, but also not coming across as like bossy or, like a know-it-all.
Right.
And I think this next phrase strikes that balance beautifully. It's, you might want to. It's gentle, suggestive, not confrontational. I love it.
Yeah, it's like a masterclass in indirect communication. It allows you to offer a suggestion without sounding bossy or judgmental. It gives the other person that power to make their own decision. They're still benefiting from your perspective.
So if you see, a friend, for example, maybe they're, heading down a path that you think might not be, the best choice, you say, hey, you might want to, consider some other options. You're planting a seed, but you're not like, dictating their actions.
Exactly. Yeah. It's respecting their autonomy while still, trying to provide some guidance and support.
Okay. This next phrase, this is like my all-time favorite excuse. It's my go-to for just about anything. I'm talking about it's not worth the hassle. Whether it's, returning a faulty item or like tackling some complicated chore, this is my justification for just taking the easy route every time.
I'm sure we've all used it to, rationalize a decision or two.
No, for sure.
But on a deeper level, I think it reflects a very practical approach to problem solving, You're weighing the effort against the potential reward, and you're deciding, is it really worth my time and energy?
So it's not always about laziness, right?
Right, yeah,
It's
exactly.
about being strategic.
Yeah, and choosing your battles wisely. Sometimes it's just easier to let things go than to get all bogged down in unnecessary stress.
Right. Ain't nobody got time for that. Okay, life is full of uncertainties. And sometimes the best way to deal with them is to just, wait and see how things unfold. And this next phrase captures that beautifully. Here it is. Let's cross that bridge when we come to it. I love that.
Yeah, that's a great one.
It's so visual.
It is. It's a brilliant strategy for managing anxiety, avoiding all that unnecessary worry. You're basically saying that, yeah, there might be some potential problems down the road, but let's not dwell on them now before they even happen.
It's about staying present.
Yeah.
And focusing on what you can control in the moment, which I think is great advice. So if you're planning, like a huge event or something, and someone starts, freaking out about all these possible things that could go wrong, you could say, hey, let's cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah.
It's a way of saying, let's just enjoy the planning process and not get bogged down in all these hypothetical worries.
Exactly. You said it perfectly.
Okay, and this next one's a classic. It's how to deflect responsibility when you are truly powerless. There's nothing you can do. That's out of my hands. That's like the ultimate escape route,
It is, and sometimes it's totally necessary. Sometimes there really are situations where you have absolutely no control over the outcome, But it can also be a way of just being honest about your limitations and kind of pointing people in the right direction.
Right, to the person who can actually help them.
Exactly.
So if someone's asking you for a favor that, you just can't do, or like asking you for information you don't have, you can use this phrase to, politely decline.
Yeah.
You're not making excuses. You're not obligated to do something that you just can't do. It's about setting those healthy boundaries, being upfront about your capabilities.
100%. Managing expectations and just being honest, that's what it's all about.
All right, this next phrase has a very, very Zen vibe to it. It is what it is. It's the ultimate expression of acceptance, right?
Yeah.
You're surrendering to the reality of a situation, even if it's not, your ideal situation.
Right, you're letting go of that resistance.
Right.
It's a really powerful statement, I think. It reflects a real understanding that, life is impermanent, things change, and some things are beyond our control, and, fighting against them just creates more suffering, so let it go.
So if you're faced with, maybe a big setback or like a disappointment, you can use this phrase to just acknowledge the reality of what's happening without getting all, caught up in, negativity or resentment. It's about letting go, moving forward.
Yeah, finding peace and acceptance, even in the midst of life's ups and downs,
It's hard sometimes, but yeah, it's a good goal. Okay, this next phrase sounds like something you'd hear like after a playful mishap on like a basketball court, no harm, no foul.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, just letting go of those little transgressions, keeping that atmosphere light,
Yeah, you just want to quickly diffuse the situation. Maybe someone's made a mistake or unintentionally offended someone.
Right.
And you're just letting them know, hey, I'm not holding a grudge.
Right, water under the bridge.
Exactly.
So if you bump into someone accidentally or make, maybe a clumsy social blunder or something, you can say, no harm, no foul. You're just putting everyone at ease, and it prevents that unnecessary awkwardness.
Absolutely. It's like that verbal reset button, It's like, hey, it's okay to make mistakes. We're all human here.
Right, we all mess up sometimes. Okay, we've made it to the final section. We're talking about ending conversations gracefully. These next few phrases, they're all about saying goodbye without, sounding abrupt or rude. Let's start with a classic. I use this one all the time. It's gotta run. You just want to make a quick exit.
It's a great one. It's versatile.
Yeah.
It conveys that sense of urgency,
Yeah.
but it keeps a friendly tone, and it lets the other person know, hey, I've got to go, but I really enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, so if you're in the middle of a conversation and suddenly realize, oh, shoot, I'm running late, you could say, gotta run. It was so great chatting with you. It's brief, it's polite, it gets the job done.
It does, yeah. It lets you make that graceful exit without, seeming dismissive or disinterested.
Right. And if you want to keep the connection going, keep that door open, you could just add a little, keep in touch. It's just a reminder that, hey, this isn't the end. Just a pause.
Yeah, it's like a little promise for future interaction.
Exactly right. Like
Right.
saying, hey, I enjoyed this, and I look forward to connecting with you again sometime soon. Okay, here's a more informal way. It's catch you later.
Yeah.
That's like, the cool kids' way of saying goodbye,
Yeah.
It implies that you'll see each other again soon.
Yeah, it's great for, friends or people who see each other pretty regularly. It conveys that sense of familiarity and camaraderie, It's like, this isn't really goodbye. It's just, see you later.
It's like saying, hey, we'll be hanging out again soon, so no need for a formal farewell.
Exactly.
Okay, how about this one? Take it easy.
That sounds a little bit more relaxed. It's kind of like a reminder to, chill out and enjoy life a little bit. It can definitely have that meaning, but it can also just be like a general well-wishing,
Right.
It's kind of like have a good day or take care, but less formal.
Yeah. It's a very versatile phrase, I think. It conveys that sense of like, goodwill and warmth.
Yeah.
You can say it to a friend who's like stressed out, a colleague who's heading home after a long day, even like, a stranger on the street.
Exactly. It's like this subtle way to spread a little positivity and leave a good impression.
Okay, and finally we have like the classic all-purpose goodbye that works in any situation. You can never go wrong with this one. It's have a good one. Simple, friendly, always appropriate.
The gold standard of goodbyes.
Right. It's a way of wishing someone well, but without, being too specific,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You can use it for friends, family, colleagues, even strangers. It's like a little verbal high five. Leaves everyone feeling good.
Exactly. Ending the interaction on a positive note. Spreading some good vibes. I love it.
Wow. I can't believe how much ground we've covered in this part. It's amazing how much we can learn about a culture by just looking at, how people use everyday language.
It is. It's really a fascinating journey. And I think, by exploring these subtle nuances and the cultural context behind all these phrases, we can understand so much better how people connect and communicate in the real world.
Well, we're not done yet, right? We've got one more part to go. Stay tuned for part 3, where we're going to wrap it all up, and we're going to give you some practical tips, some actionable advice on how to actually integrate these phrases into your everyday conversations. All right, welcome back, everyone. We are back for the grand finale. We've been on this deep dive trying to sound more like a native English speaker.
That's right. And we've gone through this incredible list of everyday phrases, peeling back the layers and looking at the culture, the meaning. But I think now's the fun part. Now's the time to actually use them, right?
Right. But that's the thing, like, it's one thing to understand them, to kind of get it, but it's a whole nother thing to actually use them naturally,
Absolutely.
without sounding like I'm reading from a script.
Exactly.
Do you have any tips? Like, how do we weave these phrases into our conversations and make them sound, seamless, effortless?
Yeah, I think it all boils down to two things, context and confidence.
Okay.
Each phrase has its place. It's got a specific vibe. It's kind of like choosing the right tool for the job,
Right.
You don't want to use a hammer when you need a screwdriver.
Okay, so let's play a little game.
Okay.
I'm going to throw out a scenario, and you tell me which phrase we talked about would be a good fit.
I'm game. Let's do it.
Okay, so imagine you're at a networking event.
Yeah.
And someone's pitching you this business idea, and it sounds a little too good to be true. You know what I mean?
I've been there. Yeah.
You want to be polite, of course, but you also want to signal, hey, I'm a little skeptical here.
Uh-huh.
What phrase would you use?
Oh, I think, I wouldn't count on it would fit perfectly there.
Okay, but yeah.
You're conveying that doubt, but you're not, being rude or dismissive. You're basically saying, hey, this is interesting, but I'm going to need a little more convincing.
I like it. Subtle but effective.
Yeah.
Okay, how about this one? You're hanging out with friends, and they suggest trying this new restaurant. But you've heard mixed reviews. Some people love it, some people hate it.
Yep.
So you're open to trying it, but you're not super enthusiastic. What would you say?
Oh, that's easy. Let's play it by ear.
Yes.
It shows that you're willing to go with the flow,
Right.
see how things turn out. It takes the pressure off having to, make a firm decision.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I'm up for an adventure, but, we'll see what happens. Okay, last one. You're in a meeting. Your boss asks you to take on this huge project, but you are swamped. You've got way too much on your plate already.
Oh, I know that feeling.
So you've got to set a boundary, but you don't want to sound, negative or like you're not a team player.
Right.
What's the magic phrase?
Okay. In that situation, I would probably say, I'm swamped.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's direct, but it's polite. You're basically saying, look, I would love to help, but I've got way too much going on right now.
It's about being honest, right?
Yeah,
And not overcommitting yourself.
exactly.
That's a great example of how these phrases can really help us navigate, sometimes tricky situations, especially in the workplace. But, it's not just about work, right? We can use these phrases everywhere.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Whether you're chatting with friends, negotiating a deal, just making small talk, these are the phrases that make you sound like a natural, fluent English speaker.
So, okay, this is something I've been wondering about, and maybe you can clarify this for me and our listeners. What about slang? We've talked about all these everyday phrases, but what about, those super casual expressions, the ones that native speakers use all the time? Do those fit into all this too?
That's a great question. Slang can be tricky, right? It's always changing. It can be different in different places, and it's very age specific too. But the phrases we've been looking at today, they're more like those timeless classics. They're the foundation, the kind of phrases that you can use in any situation, and they'll always be relevant.
So you're saying, like, once we've got these down, then we can start, experimenting a little with slang.
Yeah, exactly. It's like building a house. You start with a strong foundation, and then you can add those, decorative flourishes later.
That's a great analogy. I love that. Okay, so the best way to learn slang, I guess, is to really immerse yourself in the culture.
Yeah. Watch movies, listen to music, talk to native speakers, and pay attention to how they're using language.
Right.
It's like this never-ending adventure. There's always something new to discover.
Okay, I like that. But it's not just about memorizing a bunch of phrases, right?
No, 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 no.
It's about understanding the meaning, the feeling, the context, all that stuff.
Yeah, you got it. It's about developing like an intuition for the language, how it works, how it flows, how it connects us to each other. It's more than just speaking. It's about connecting with the culture.
The humor, the way people express themselves, the whole shebang.
Exactly. It's about becoming part of that conversation, sharing ideas, building relationships, just experiencing the world through this whole new lens.
Well said. I think we've covered a lot of ground today in this deep dive. We've given you, 29 powerful phrases that are going to boost your fluency.
Yeah.
But the real journey starts now, right?
It does. Now it's time to go out there and practice, experiment, have fun with it, and don't be afraid to make mistakes, The more you use these, the more natural they'll become.
Who knows? You might even invent a few phrases of your own.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of language. It's this living, breathing thing. It's always changing.
Okay, so to all of our listeners out there, it's time to conquer this world of English conversation.
You got this.
Embrace the challenge, enjoy the process, and remember, the most important thing is to connect, communicate, and share your unique voice with the world.
And on that note, that's a wrap.
All right, so we're diving into English conversation skills today. And you guys know I love getting your input. So you sent over this script, which is basically like a crash course in 29 common sentences.
Yeah.
The kind that can really make you sound like a natural.
Yeah.
So we're not going to just read them off a list, though, right?
Definitely not. The fun is in the details, right? These phrases may seem simple at first glance,
Right.
but there's a lot more to them than meets the eye. We'll be looking at the cultural nuances and, maybe some alternative ways to express the same idea, and even situations where one choice might be better than another.
I see. Okay, so let's take long time no see, for example. That one always throws me off a bit. Is it too casual for like a work colleague you haven't seen in a while?
That's a great example, and it shows how context is key. Long time no see, it's very informal, almost slangy. While it's perfectly fine with friends, for a colleague, maybe it's been a while, would sound a bit more professional.
Yeah, that makes sense. So instead of going through all 29 one by one, maybe we could group them by themes.
Absolutely. Let's start with a group that's essential for, navigating everyday life, making plans, and asking for directions. Imagine you've just moved to a new city.
Oh, yeah.
These phrases become your survival kit.
I can totally relate to that.
Oh, yeah.
When I first moved abroad, even asking for directions felt like climbing Mount Everest.
I bet. So the script starts with, "Are you free this weekend?" Now, on the surface, this seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But have you noticed that in some cultures, it can actually be considered a little rude to be so direct?
Oh, you're so right. I've definitely put my foot in my mouth a few times trying to be casual.
Yeah, it happens. So instead of asking directly if they're free, you could say something like, "I was wondering if you might be interested in grabbing coffee sometime this weekend." It just sounds less demanding and gives the other person an easy out if they're not interested.
That's a really good tip. It's all about finding that balance between being clear and being considerate.
Exactly. Now, another phrase in the making plans theme is, let me check my schedule. This one's great. Gives you a moment to think before committing.
Oh, it's like a get-out-of-jail-free card for people like me who overcommit.
Exactly. But I wonder if it can also sound a bit evasive sometimes.
That's an interesting point. It probably depends on how you say it, right?
Exactly. If you genuinely need to check your calendar, it's fine. But if you're using it as an excuse to avoid plans, people might pick up on that.
So authenticity is key.
Got it.
Got it. All right, let's say we've made plans to meet up. What if we get lost on the way?
Well, the script suggests, could you give me directions? Simple, polite gets the job done. But think about your delivery, too. Looking genuinely lost, maybe adding a I'm new in town can get you extra help.
I've definitely used that trick before. And what about those reassuring phrases like, it's just around the corner?
Music to a lost traveler's ears. But be warned, just around the corner can be relative. What's close for one person might be a 10-minute walk for another.
Oh, so true. It's all about managing expectations.
Right. And finally, we have I'll be there in 10 minutes. Seems straightforward, but even here there are cultural differences. In some places, punctuality is crucial, while in others, 10 minutes is more of a suggestion.
Fascinating. So even a simple phrase like that can reveal a lot about cultural norms.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm ready for a new theme. How about we explore some phrases you might use at a restaurant or cafe? I'm always curious about the etiquette around ordering food in different cultures.
Excellent choice. This is where things can get really interesting. Let's dive in. Okay, so imagine you're at this, bustling restaurant. The menu is like a novel, and you have no idea what to get.
Oh, I've totally been there. In those moments, I always resort to, do you have any recommendations? It's a lifesaver when you're just overwhelmed with choices.
Right. It's a classic for a reason. And it's not just about getting a good meal. It's also a way to connect with the server. Show that you value their opinion.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
In some cultures, that personal touch can actually lead to better service.
Interesting. So it's like you're inviting them to share their insider knowledge.
Exactly. Now, let's say you got a little carried away and ordered way too much food.
Happens to the best of us.
The script suggests, can I get this to go? But it made me think about how takeout culture is so different around the world.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I have noticed that some cultures seem to be more into takeout than others.
Right. It's fascinating, right? In some cultures, meals are really seen as social events, meant to be shared and enjoyed with company. So asking for a doggy bag might be considered kind of rude.
Oh, wow. I never thought about that. It's amazing how even a simple phrase like, can I get this to go, can have so much cultural baggage.
Absolutely. And speaking of cultural differences, whether you dine in or take out a nice service was great, can go a long way.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in positive feedback. It can really make someone's day.
It really can. But I also wonder if sometimes a more specific compliment might be even better.
Oh, you're right. Like instead of just saying, great service, you could mention something specific that you appreciated.
Exactly. Like their attentiveness or, their knowledge of the menu.
Okay. Mental note made. Now, let's say you're dining with a friend and they order something that looks absolutely incredible.
Ah, the classic. I'll have the same. This one's all about efficiency, right? Avoiding decision fatigue.
For sure.
But it can also be a subtle way to compliment your friend's taste.
I love that. It's like a silent thumbs up. Okay, I think I'm ready to tackle a slightly trickier theme. Expressing opinions and feelings. This is where I think a lot of language learners, myself included, sometimes struggle.
It's definitely an area where nuance is super important. Even small changes in phrasing can make a big difference.
Yeah, the script starts with, to be honest, I don't like it. Adding that, to be honest, always feels like it softens the blow a bit.
It does. It's a good way to introduce a dissenting opinion without sounding too harsh. But it's interesting because in some cultures, directness is valued more. So being too indirect might actually be seen as insincere.
That's a good point. So if we're in a situation where directness is appreciated, how could we express disagreement without that, to be honest, buffer?
You could try something like, I see your point, but I have a different perspective. It acknowledges their viewpoint, but still clearly states your own.
Okay, I like that. It's direct, but still respectful.
Yeah.
What about when we want to express agreement?
Well, the script suggests that's a good point, which is a great way to acknowledge someone's contribution to the conversation.
Yeah, it shows you're listening and engaged.
Exactly. And if you're feeling really enthusiastic about someone's idea, there's always, I couldn't agree more.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But sometimes things aren't so clear-cut. What do you say when there's no easy answer?
It depends on the situation. Is your friend in those cases? It allows for nuance, and avoids generalizations.
It's so true. Okay, so we've talked about opinions and feelings. Now, what about those phrases that are essential for keeping the conversation flowing smoothly? Everyday small talk.
Ah, small talk, the social lubricant. It's all about finding common ground and keeping the tone light. The script suggests starting with, "How's your day going?"
Yeah, it's simple, but it works.
Yeah.
It shows you're interested.
Right. But it's interesting because in some cultures, it's really more of a greeting than an actual question.
So you wouldn't necessarily go into a whole spiel about your day.
Not really. A simple good thanks is usually enough, but in other cultures, it is an invitation to share a bit more.
It's like you have to read the room and adapt your response.
Exactly. Now, what about those moments when you didn't quite catch what someone said? You know those awkward silences?
Oh, yeah,
The script recommends, "I didn't catch that. Could you repeat it? It's clear and polite."
definitely. But I've noticed that sometimes people are afraid to ask for clarification, even if they didn't understand.
Yeah, I think there's a fear of sounding, stupid or something. But it's so much better to ask than to pretend you understood.
Oh, absolutely. Clarity is key. So let's say someone apologizes for something minor. A quick, no worries can really smooth things over.
It's casual but effective. It shows you're not offended.
Right. And no problem is another common one, especially in American English.
That's true. Both work well in informal settings, but in more formal situations, you might want to use something like, "That's quite all right."
Good to know. Right. What about when you're feeling indecisive or you want to let the other person choose?
It's up to you. Simple but effective. It shows you're flexible.
Yeah. It's a lifesaver when you can't make up your mind. But I wonder if using it too often can make you seem a bit passive.
That's a good observation. If you say it all the time, it might give the impression that you don't really care.
So like with most things in life, it's all about finding the right balance.
Exactly. Now, how about we shift gears and look at some phrases that are helpful for handling problems and giving advice?
Okay, yeah, this is a big one. It can be tricky to find the right words, to
Yeah.
offer support without overstepping boundaries.
Right. It's a delicate balance.
So we've really gone in depth with these 29 phrases, haven't we? Looking at them from all angles. But, zooming out for a second, what does it really mean to master these sentences for someone who wants to become a more confident English speaker?
It's like we've been building this toolbox, right? Filling it with all these carefully chosen tools for different conversational situations. But the real skill is knowing which tool to use when and how to use it effectively.
So it's not just about memorizing the phrases. It's about understanding, the nuances of when and how to use them appropriately.
Exactly. Like learning a musical instrument. You start with scales and exercises, but the goal is to play beautiful music, to express yourself freely and creatively.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So these 29 phrases are like our scales, building blocks for something much bigger.
Exactly. And just like with music, practice makes perfect those bad. The more you use these phrases in real conversations, the more natural they will become. You'll start to internalize the rhythm of the language.
It's about reaching that point where you're not translating in your head anymore. You're just thinking and speaking in English.
Exactly. And as you get more comfortable with the basics, you can start to experiment. Add your own personality to your communication. That's where it gets really fun.
It's like taking those basic dance steps and then creating your own choreography.
Yeah.
But I think there's a fear factor for a lot of language learners, right? The fear of making mistakes, of sounding awkward.
Of course. It's totally normal to feel that way. But remember, everyone makes mistakes when they're learning something new. The key is to see those mistakes as opportunities to learn.
So it's about shifting our mindset from fear of failure to, a love of learning.
Absolutely. And surround yourself with the language. Watch movies, listen to music, read books, even try singing along to English songs.
It's like training your ear to the sounds of the language. I've also found that shadowing can be really helpful. Repeating phrases and dialogues from native speakers.
Oh, shadowing is a great technique. It helps with fluency pronunciation, even those subtle things like intonation.
It's like learning from a master chef by watching and imitating.
Exactly. And remember, language learning is a journey, not a destination. There will be ups and downs, frustrations and triumphs. The important thing is to enjoy the process, to stay curious, and never stop exploring.
Well said. I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from dissecting individual phrases to talking about the bigger picture of language learning. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
Embrace the challenge. Celebrate the small wins. And never be afraid to make mistakes. Most importantly, have fun.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into English conversation. Happy learning, everyone.
All right, let's dive into this. We've got 3 podcast scripts you sent over, and they're all about helping you level up your conversational English skills. But for this deep dive, I think it would be cool to focus on that beginner script, really unpack what makes those simple phrases so powerful.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start. What's interesting to me is how these phrases, even though they're basic, they could really be like a key,
Right.
like unlocking confidence for new English speakers. I like this framework for navigating everyday situations.
Okay, so let's jump right in. The script kicks off with greetings and politeness, the classics. Hello, how are you? Nice to meet you, and all that. Are these really the keys to making a good first impression? I mean, they seem pretty straightforward.
Oh, they absolutely are. You see these greetings, they're more than just words. They're like cultural cues that, hello, how are you? It's a friendly way to just acknowledge someone, but it's not always a literal question about their well-being,
So it's more about setting a friendly tone than actually expecting like a detailed rundown of how someone's feeling.
Exactly. The expected response is usually something short and sweet, like, I'm fine, thank you. And you? It's kind of like a social dance, showing you're engaged and you're reciprocating that polite gesture.
Gotcha. Now, I noticed the script also includes, please help me. It seems so simple, but I can see how that would be so valuable, especially in a new environment.
Absolutely. Imagine being lost or needing help, That phrase cuts through any language barrier. You're communicating urgency and the need for assistance in a way that's pretty much universally understood.
Yeah, it's like having a lifeline, a safety net in your back pocket. And speaking of feeling a bit lost, there's another gem here. Excuse me, where's the bathroom? I can't tell you how many times I've wished I knew that phrase when traveling.
It's funny, right? How such a basic need can sometimes become the biggest communication hurdle. But this phrase isn't just practical. It also shows respect for social norms.
Yeah.
You're politely acknowledging that you need help, which can go a long way, making a good impression.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've covered greetings and those help me moments. Let's move on to a scenario that I think can be both exciting and nerve-wracking, shopping and eating out.
Oh, yeah. So many interactions happen in those spaces.
Right. And not always with people who speak our native language. The script highlights some real gems for navigating these transactions, like starting with, how much is this?
Oh, yeah. That one I feel like I'd use constantly. But I'm curious, beyond just asking the price, what does that phrase actually achieve in a transactional context?
It's more than just getting information. It shows you're actively engaging in that transaction. You're not just assuming a price or fumbling with a currency converter or something. It demonstrates a level of comfort and understanding of the process. It's like you're taking charge a little bit, You're showing that you're ready to participate in that exchange. And this is where, can I pay with a credit card? Comes in handy, right?
Precisely. In many places, assuming you can just pay with a credit card could lead to some awkwardness.
Yeah.
This phrase helps avoid that. It also kind of signals that you understand the common ways to pay in that environment.
It's all about setting clear expectations and avoiding those potential miscommunications. Now, I'm also noticing some phrases that are less about the actual transaction and more about making a connection, like, the food is delicious.
That's a great example. It might seem simple, but it shows appreciation and it can even spark a conversation. Food is such a universal connector, and expressing that you're enjoying it opens up the possibility for a deeper interaction.
And I love how the script gives an example too. The pasta is amazing, the food is delicious. It shows how you can build on those basic phrases, sound more fluent, more expressive.
Exactly. You're not just stating a fact, you're conveying enthusiasm. It adds personality to your communication, makes it more engaging for the listener. Plus, it highlights a key point about language learning. It's not just memorizing words, it's about using them with feeling.
All right, so we've mastered greetings, we've found the bathroom, even enjoyed a delicious meal. But now I'm curious about those moments when things get a little tricky, like you just can't understand what someone's saying. The script suggests, I don't understand.
Oh, that phrase is gold.
Yeah.
It's so powerful because it shows humility and a willingness to learn. So many learners get caught up in trying to appear fluent. They're afraid to admit they didn't understand. But this phrase can actually prevent misunderstandings and build trust.
Yeah, it's about prioritizing clear communication over pretending you know everything. And I imagine it's way less embarrassing than just nodding along and hoping for the best.
Absolutely. Plus, it often prompts the other person to rephrase or to simplify their language, which can be so helpful in a learning environment.
It's a way of inviting the other person to meet you halfway, to help bridge that communication gap. Now, shifting gears a bit, I'm intrigued by this seemingly simple phrase. It's a beautiful day. It feels almost too basic, but I can see how it has a purpose.
Right, it seems basic. But think about it. It's a way to acknowledge a shared experience, to find common ground. Whether you're waiting for the bus or striking up a conversation with a shopkeeper, commenting on the weather can open the door to connection.
It's like a social lubricant, a way to break the ice and establish a little bit of camaraderie.
And you'd be surprised how often people respond positively to that kind of simple, positive observation. It can brighten someone's day and make them more receptive to further interaction.
So it's not just about commenting on the weather, it's about creating a positive vibe and signaling that you're open to connecting.
Exactly. It's a subtle way of saying, hey, we're both here. Let's acknowledge this shared moment.
Okay, before we move on to making plans and exploring the city, let's talk about emergencies. The script includes phrases like, I need help, and call the police, which are obviously crucial. But I'm wondering if you could talk about their importance specifically in a language learning context.
Well, imagine being in a situation where you desperately need help, but you can't articulate it. That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
These phrases are essential because they cut through any language barrier. They communicate a clear need for assistance in a way that's, well, universally understood.
Yeah, it's like having a safety net, knowing that you can express a critical need, even if you're struggling with other vocabulary. And I don't feel well kind of falls into that same category, right?
Absolutely. Even if you can't explain the specifics of your ailment, that phrase allows you to communicate a basic need. It's like a starting point for getting the help you need.
It's about empowering yourself to advocate for your well-being, even in a language you're still learning.
Exactly. And it highlights the importance of focusing on those core phrases that can make a real difference in challenging situations.
Yeah, it's really about having those essential communication tools, the ones that can get you through a tough spot.
Okay, so we've covered greetings, navigated some tricky situations, even enjoyed a delicious meal. Now let's imagine we're ready to explore a bit, make some plans. This is where things get really interesting, I think, especially when you're in a new environment.
Absolutely. And the script gives us a great starting point. Let's go to the park.
I love how direct and simple that is. It's a clear invitation. But I'm curious, what makes that phrase more effective than just saying, I want to go to the park?
Well, let's go to the park is inclusive. It's an invitation to a shared experience, like suggesting you want to do something together. It's more likely to be received well because it emphasizes that togetherness.
Yeah, it's like you're extending a hand, inviting someone to join you on an adventure. It definitely feels more collaborative and friendly. Exactly. That subtle difference in phrasing can really impact how your message comes across.
For sure. Of course, sometimes adventures take unexpected turns and we find ourselves a bit lost. That's where, can you show me the way, comes in handy.
Oh, that's a classic. And it highlights how important it is to be able to ask for help clearly and directly. You're not just saying you're lost, you're actively seeking guidance.
You're taking initiative. It's about acknowledging that you need help and trusting others to help you find your way. And once we've mastered navigating the city, it's time to connect with people and make some plans. I see the script includes, what are you doing this weekend? A classic for a reason, right?
It's a classic because it works. That open-ended question, it invites the other person to share their plans, which can lead to, well, all sorts of interesting conversations and potential shared experiences.
Yeah, it's a fantastic conversation starter. It shows genuine interest in the other person's life, and it opens the door to discovering common interests.
Yeah, sometimes those casual questions lead to the most meaningful connections.
Absolutely. Speaking of connections, let's dive into the section on casual conversations. I'm particularly interested in the phrase, what do you do? It's a staple in so many cultures, but it's not always as straightforward as it seems.
You're right. In some cultures, asking about someone's profession might be seen as too personal for an initial conversation. But in many English-speaking contexts, it's a perfectly acceptable way to learn more about someone.
It's like a shortcut to understanding someone's world a little bit, their daily life and their passions. And it often sparks those follow-up questions, those deeper conversations.
Exactly. It can lead to discussions about hobbies, interests, even shared career aspirations.
They're shifting gears a bit. I'm drawn to a phrase that really captures those moments of shared joy. I love this song.
Isn't that a great one? Music is such a powerful connector. And expressing your enthusiasm for a particular song can instantly create a bond with someone.
It's like a way of saying, hey, we have this in common. We're vibing on the same wavelength. And it can lead to conversations about, favorite bands, concerts, musical memories. It's amazing how such a simple phrase can unlock so much shared experience.
It speaks to the power of music as a universal language, a way to connect across cultures and generations.
Okay, let's imagine a scenario where we're in a crowded cafe and we want to join a friend. The script suggests using, "Can I sit here?"
This is all about showing respect for personal space and social etiquette.
Yeah.
It's a polite way to ask permission before taking a seat, acknowledging that that space might already be occupied or reserved for someone else.
It's a small gesture, but it can make a huge difference in social interactions, shows consideration for others, and avoids any potential awkwardness.
And it models good manners for those around you, especially if you're in a new environment and want to make a good impression.
Now, for a bit of fun, I see the script includes, "Let's take a selfie." I love how this captures that modern desire to document shared experiences, to create memories.
It's a playful way to commemorate a moment, create a lasting visual reminder of a shared experience. Plus, it's a fun way to practice those natural-sounding casual phrases.
It's all about embracing those lighthearted moments and capturing that joy of connection. And speaking of connections, eventually we need to know how to wrap things up gracefully. The script offers some classic farewells, "Have a nice day," and "Talk to you later."
Those phrases are essential for signaling the end of a conversation in a polite and positive way. They leave the other person feeling respected and acknowledged, even as the interaction comes to a close.
Yeah, it's like putting a nice little bow on it, You leave a good impression and keep that door open for future conversation.
Right, shows you value that interaction and you're leaving things on a good note.
So we started with greetings, then navigated some tricky situations, made some plans, had a few laughs, even learned to say goodbye politely. It's amazing how much ground we covered just looking at these, 29 sentences.
And that's really the big takeaway here, isn't it? You don't need to be fluent to start connecting with people.
Yeah.
You don't have to master the whole language before you can handle everyday situations. These phrases, they might seem simple, but they're so powerful. They can really help you build confidence and open up all kinds of new experiences.
I keep thinking back to the listener and their goal to gain that conversational confidence quickly. And these phrases they're almost like a cheat sheet, a fast track to feeling more comfortable in English-speaking environments.
And what's really cool about this script is it's not just a list of phrases. It gives you context, it gives you examples. It even encourages learners to build on those basic phrases and really sound more natural, more like themselves.
It's like a springboard, right? It gives you the foundation, and then you can jump off and get more creative with the language as your confidence grows.
Exactly. Start with the basics, and you can go anywhere from there.
So, to our listener who's ready to jump into conversational English, I say, print out those 29 sentences, practice them, really make them your own.
Don't be afraid to try them out in real life, even if it feels a little awkward at first. Every time you interact with someone, you're learning. And the more you practice, the more comfortable you'll get.
Remember, language learning, it's a journey. It's not about reaching some finish line. It's about those moments of connection, the stumbles along the way, the little victories.
So start using those 29 phrases and see what happens. How can they help you connect with people, navigate new places? How can they help you express yourself more confidently? That's what we want you to think about.
Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be talking all about fluency. It's not just about knowing a ton of words, right?
Right.
It's about how you use them.
Yeah, exactly.
You could have all these amazing ingredients, but if you don't know how to cook, what good are they?
Totally. And I think a lot of English learners, they hit this wall where they have a lot of vocabulary, but they haven't quite mastered making it sound natural.
Exactly.
And that's where I think these 22 power words really come in.
Okay, so before we jump in, for anyone new to this deep dive, what exactly are these 22 power words?
Well, they're, I guess you could say little linguistic shortcuts to sounding more fluent and natural.
Okay.
And the interesting thing is you probably already know most of these words. It's not about learning new vocabulary. It's about understanding how native speakers actually use them.
Yeah, like those subtle things that you don't always pick up in a textbook, right?
Exactly. It's like having this, secret code to unlock more fluent English.
I like that. A secret code. All right, let's crack the code then. What's our first power word?
Let's start with actually.
Okay, actually.
Now, on the surface, this one seems pretty straightforward. You're correcting someone.
Hmm.
Or maybe you're emphasizing a point.
Right, right.
But it can do so much more than that.
Okay, how so?
Well, think about your tone of voice. If you say it really gently, maybe with a smile, it can be a way of disagreeing politely.
Oh, that's interesting.
But then if you say it in a more sharper tone, it can sound almost like a challenge.
Huh. So it's all about how you use it.
Yeah. It's context.
Context is everything.
It's context. It's your tone. It's so subtle.
Yeah, those little nuances. I like it. So the source material actually had a good example about using actually to gently correct someone. Like imagine you're at work and a colleague gets the meeting time wrong. How would you use actually there?
Oh, that's a great example. Yeah, you definitely don't want to sound like a know-it-all in that situation.
Right. Got to be careful.
So it's got to be delicate. Maybe you could say something like, actually, I think the meeting's at 2, not 3.
Oh, yeah.
Just like a little suggestion.
Yeah, yeah. And almost questioning yourself a little bit so it's not so direct.
Exactly.
Okay, very cool. So actually, definitely a power word. What's next?
All right, let's move on to one that I bet you hear all the time. Apparently.
Apparently.
Yeah. This one's all about conveying information that you've heard from someone else.
Secondhand information.
Secondhand, exactly.
Okay.
And, you're not necessarily saying whether it's true or not.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I can see that.
This is what I've heard.
I was going to say, it's like you hear it on the news all the time. Apparently, there have been new developments, like that.
Totally.
And it's kind of like, it almost makes it more intriguing.
Yeah.
But you have to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, you're not getting the full picture, but it's enough to be like, interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder what's going on there.
Yeah. It makes you want to find out more. But I guess that's a good tool for journalists then.
Oh, absolutely. They can't, report everything as fact, especially when things are still developing.
Right.
So apparently lets them stay neutral while still keeping people informed.
It's a good way to hedge, I guess.
Totally.
Okay. So apparently news, gossip, all that good stuff. What about in everyday conversations, though?
Yeah.
How do we use it?
Well, I think it's great for those situations where you maybe want to share some information, but you don't want to fully endorse it.
Oh, okay. So sensitive topics, maybe?
Yeah, apparently they're moving, but I don't know the details.
Right.
Something like that.
So it's almost like you're dipping your toe in the water.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
Without jumping in head first.
Huh.
So I'm curious, how could you use apparently today? What little piece of information could you spice up with that word?
That's a good question. I'll have to think about that. I'm not sure I have any juicy gossip to share right now. But we do have more power words to cover. What's next?
Okay, let's talk about basically.
Basically. All right, I use this one all the time. What's so special about it?
Well, think of it as a way of simplifying things.
Yeah.
Like you're taking a really complex idea and you're boiling it down to its essence.
Yeah. Getting to the heart of the matter.
Yeah. Those movie trailers that try to sum up the whole movie in one sentence?
Right. It's a love story, but with a twist. That kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just for movies. You could use it to talk about your job, your hobbies, really anything.
And it forces you to really think about what's important.
Totally. It's a great way to get clear on your message. So what would your basically statement be about your work or maybe even your philosophy on life?
Ooh, that's deep. My basically statement on life. Well, I'd have to think about it for a while. But it is a good exercise, like you said, to really boil it down to the essentials.
Yeah. And speaking of boiling things down, how about we tackle a word that gets misused a lot? Literally.
Oh, literally. Yeah, that one can be tricky.
Can be tricky. Because we all know it means something is actually happening, right?
In the true sense of the word.
Exactly. But somewhere along the way, people started using it for emphasis, even when things aren't actually true.
Right, I'm literally dying of laughter.
Exactly. No one's actually dying.
No, hopefully not.
So why do we do that? I mean, I do it too sometimes. It's we want to make our words as strong as our feelings, I guess.
I think there's also that kind of generational thing, it's become almost slang in a way.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely evolved. And, some people really hate it. They think it's ruining the English language.
Right.
But others say language is always changing, so it's not a big deal.
It's a debate.
It is a debate. But no matter what side you're on, it's good to be aware of how you're using it.
Yeah, especially if you're writing something formal or in a professional setting.
Definitely.
Okay, good advice. Literally Use it wisely.
Use it wisely. Okay, now let's move on to a word that can make you sound really smart. Nevertheless.
Ooh, nevertheless.
Yeah.
I like that one. It sounds so sophisticated.
It does have a certain elegance to it, doesn't it?
It does. It does. But how would you actually use it in a sentence?
Well, think of it as a fancy way of saying but. Like, it connects two contrasting ideas.
Oh, okay.
Our source had a good example, something like, it was raining, nevertheless, we went hiking.
Oh, I see.
So it's acknowledging the rain, but saying, hey, we still did it anyway.
So it shows determination.
Determination, yeah. Like, we're not going to let a little rain stop us.
I like it. I'm going to try using nevertheless today. See if I can sneak it into a conversation.
I think you should. See how people react.
It's like a little challenge for our listeners too, right? See if you can swap out but for nevertheless today.
Exactly.
Make your English sound a little fancier. All right, what's next on our list?
Okay, how about meanwhile?
Meanwhile. Okay, what does that one do?
Well, this one's all about things happening at the same time. Like, imagine a news report.
Okay.
And they're jumping back and forth between different stories. They might say something like, the Prime Minister is meeting with world leaders. Meanwhile, back at home, protests are continuing.
Oh, yeah. It creates that sense of like everything's happening all at once.
Exactly. It's very dynamic. And it keeps people hooked.
Yeah, you don't want to miss anything.
Right. But, it's not just for news. We use meanwhile all the time in everyday life.
Yeah, I think so.
Just to add a little detail or context, like,
Yeah.
I was working on my report. Meanwhile, my cat decided to take a nap on my keyboard.
Oh, I like that.
Something like that.
It's a good way to add a little humor too, right?
Exactly. So how about you try it?
Yeah.
I'll start a sentence and you finish it.
Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to meditate.
Meanwhile, my brain was planning my entire week.
Perfect.
See, I told you I was good at this.
You are. You're a natural. All right, ready for another one?
Hit me with it.
Okay, this one is thus.
Thus. I have to admit, that one sounds a little, I don't know, stuffy to me.
I know what you mean. It does sound a bit more formal.
Yeah.
But it can be really effective. It's all about cause and effect.
Okay.
Like, A plus B equals C.
Right.
Thus is kind of like that.
So a very direct link.
Yeah.
No ambiguity.
Exactly. Like, she didn't study for the test, thus she failed.
Oh, yeah, I see. Straight to the point.
Straight to the point.
Yeah.
But you know what? Sometimes even in casual conversations, that directness can be really helpful.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like, if you're explaining something to a friend and you want to emphasize the consequence, you could say, he skipped work to go to the beach, thus he got fired.
Oh, okay.
It adds a little drama.
Yeah, I like that. Thus is making a comeback in my book. Okay, what else do we have?
Okay, how about in other words?
In other words. Now that one feels really helpful. Like it's almost like you're rescuing the listener if they got a little lost.
Yeah, it's all about rephrasing, like finding another way to explain something.
Yeah, sometimes you got to try a few different ways to get the point across, right?
Absolutely.
Because sometimes our first explanation is a little too, I don't know, complicated or maybe too vague.
Yeah, exactly. And in other words, lets you break it down and make it really clear.
Okay, so like instead of saying he's not interested, you could say he's not interested. In other words, he's just not that into you.
Perfect. Yeah. It's like you're leaving no room for misinterpretation.
It's the truth bomb.
It is. All right, so your turn. How could you use, in other words, to clarify something in your life? What concept or idea needs a little rephrasing?
That's a good one. Might have to think about that one for a minute. We are uncovering some deep stuff here.
We are. But, language is all about exploring those depths.
That's true. Okay, I'm ready for our next power word.
Okay, let's get ready for a little mental tug of war with this one. On the other hand.
Ooh. On the other hand, I feel like that one is all about like looking at both sides of something.
Exactly. It's all about comparisons.
Yeah.
Like, presenting two different perspectives.
Okay.
Our source material had a good example. I love living in a big city. On the other hand, the cost of living can be astronomical.
Oh, that's so true.
Right.
You get the good and the bad.
Exactly. It's acknowledging that complexity.
Because life is rarely just black and white, right?
It really isn't. And that's what's so great about, on the other hand, it allows us to embrace that gray area.
Yeah. To show that, hey, there are multiple perspectives. It's not just one way or the other.
Exactly. So tell me, what two things could you compare using on the other hand? What's something you love but also has a downside?
That's a good question. I mean, there's so many things, right? Okay, how about this? I love trying new things. On the other hand, there's something really comforting about the familiar.
That's perfect.
Yeah. It's a constant battle.
It is a battle we all face.
The old push and pull. All right, what's next on our power word list?
All right, let's talk about a word that just screams determination. Regardless.
Regardless, okay.
Yeah, this one is for when you've made up your mind,
Yeah.
you've made a decision, and nothing's going to stop you.
It's like, I'm doing this no matter what.
Exactly. It's like a shield against doubt. Regardless means no matter what.
Okay.
In spite of anything.
Our source actually gave the example. We're launching this products regardless of the competition. Like, that's a bold statement.
It is. It shows you're not afraid.
It's powerful.
It is powerful.
It's almost a little bit defiant, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we're doing this our way.
Exactly. And, regardless isn't just for big decisions like that. You can use it in everyday life, too.
Oh, okay. How so?
Like, I always make time for my morning run, regardless of how busy I am.
Yeah. It shows your commitment.
It does. It shows what's important to you. So what's something you're committed to, regardless of any obstacles?
Another good question. That's a lot to think about.
It is. It's about figuring out your priorities. But, that's what these power words do.
Yeah, they make us think a little deeper about, well, everything.
Exactly. Okay, ready for one more?
Absolutely. Lay it on me.
All right, let's talk about bridging the gap between now and later with in the meantime.
Oh, in the meantime. Okay. I feel like that one's all about like making the most of the present moment while you're waiting for something.
You got it. Exactly. It's like, yeah, you might be waiting for something, but that doesn't mean you have to just sit around and do nothing.
Right. It's about being productive or
Okay.
even just enjoying the wait,
Totally. Like our source had the example. The food will be here in 20 minutes. In the meantime, let's catch up.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
It turns a boring wait into a chance to connect.
Exactly. And you could use it for smaller things too, like I'm waiting for the laundry to finish. In the meantime, I'll clean the kitchen.
Exactly. It's about those little pockets of time.
Those in-between moments.
Yeah, that we often just waste.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, encourages us to use them wisely.
So I guess the question is, what will you do in the meantime?
What will you do?
Ooh, that's a cliffhanger.
I know, right?
We'll have to find out in part 2.
Stay tuned.
All right, so we're back with more power words, and I'm excited to see what other linguistic gems we can uncover. What do we have next?
Okay, let's talk about a phrase that's perfect for wrapping things up. At the end of the day.
Oh, at the end of the day. I feel like I hear that one a lot, especially when people are getting really serious about something.
Yeah. It's like you're saying, look, we can talk about all the details and stuff, but here's the bottom line.
Yeah, it's like getting to the heart of the matter.
Exactly. It's about what really matters most.
I was going to say, our source mentioned how often you hear it when people are talking about their strong beliefs or opinions.
Oh, totally. Yeah. It's like, this is where I stand.
This is what I believe.
Exactly.
The powerful phrase.
It is powerful. And, it's not just for opinions either. You can use it to talk about like limitations or, just things that are true no matter what.
Okay. Like what?
Like, we can try all these different marketing strategies, but at the end of the day, it's the quality of the product that matters.
Right. It's like a reality check.
It is a reality check.
Okay. At the end of the day.
Yeah.
Got it. What's next?
Okay, how about a phrase that encourages us to be a little more open-minded? Let's talk about to be fair.
To be fair. Okay, I feel like I use this one a lot too, especially when I'm trying to see things from someone else's perspective.
Exactly. It's all about balance and just being objective. Like you're acknowledging that, hey, maybe there's another side to this story.
Right. Even if you don't necessarily agree with it.
Yeah.
Like our source had this example. To be fair, she was under a lot of pressure at work.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. So even if her actions weren't great, you're saying, hey, there were reasons.
Yeah, there's context.
There's context. And it's important to remember that.
It humanizes things, right?
It does. It reminds us that we don't always have the full picture.
And to be fair, isn't just about excusing behavior. Sometimes it's about highlighting the positive, even if you're not a huge fan of something.
Yeah, totally. Like, to be fair, this new software does have some cool features, even though I prefer the old version.
Yeah, you're finding that silver lining.
Exactly.
All right, to be fair. It's a good one. What's next on our list?
Okay, let's talk about a phrase that's all about explanations and, giving reasons. The thing is.
Oh, the thing is. I feel like that one is setting you up for something. Like, it creates a little bit of suspense.
It does. It's like you're saying, okay, listen up, here comes the important part.
Yeah, it's like, here's the reason why. It's a good way to be direct, but also, not rude.
Right. You're not just saying no. You're explaining why.
Like, our source had the example, the thing is, I'm not really comfortable with that idea.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a great way to use it.
And you could use it in a more formal setting, too, right?
Oh, totally.
Like, the thing is, I don't think this aligns with our company's goals. Something like that.
Exactly. It's professional, but still gets your point across.
Okay, the thing is, I like it. What do we have next?
All right, now let's tackle two words that are often used interchangeably, but they actually have slightly different meanings. Kinda and sort of.
Oh, kind of and sort of. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, they seem so simple, but they can really change the way something sounds. Think about it like this. They kind of soften things.
Okay.
Like they make things less absolute.
So, like, instead of saying, I'm tired, you'd say, I'm kind of tired.
Exactly. It's a subtle difference.
But it does make it sound less intense.
It does.
Like, you're not totally exhausted, but you're getting there.
Yeah. And sometimes it's useful to be less intense.
Right. Oh, yeah. Like, if you're not sure how someone's going to react to your opinion, you might say, I kind of like that movie, instead of, I loved it.
Exactly. It's like you're leaving room for other opinions.
You're not being too forceful.
Exactly. And sometimes kind of and sort of can even express uncertainty,
Okay.
Like, I'm kind of thinking about going to that concert, but I haven't decided yet.
Right. You're not fully committed. It's like you're still exploring the idea.
Totally. So those little words, they're subtle,
They are.
but they pack a punch.
They do. All right. What else do we have?
Okay, let's talk about a phrase that's all about seeking connection. You know what I mean?
Oh, you know what I mean? I use that one all the time. It's like you're checking in with the other person.
Yeah. It's like you're making sure they're following along.
Yeah.
And that you're both on the same page.
Exactly. It creates that sense of like, we're in this together,
We are. It's a shared understanding.
Yeah. I was going to say, our source pointed out how often we use this in casual conversations.
Oh, yeah. Especially with friends. It's like you're saying, I hope I'm making sense.
I hope you get where I'm coming from.
Exactly. But sometimes, you can use it strategically too.
Oh, okay. How so?
Like if you're telling a story and you're not sure if people are finding it funny, you can throw in you know what I mean?
It's like, are you still with me?
Yeah. You're checking their reaction. It's subtle. Okay, ready for our last power word.
Yes. Bring it on. What is it?
All right, our final word is one that can be used in so many ways. Come on.
Come on. Okay. I feel like that one depends a lot on your tone of voice.
Oh, it totally does. It can be encouraging. It can be exasperated. It can even be like playful.
I know, right?
It's all about how you say it.
Our source had some good examples like, come on, you can do it, versus, come on, don't be ridiculous.
Exactly. Totally different vibes.
It's amazing how much meaning those two little words can carry.
It's all about that unspoken message, that subtext.
Yeah, the things we don't say out loud, but we still communicate. Like, imagine you're trying to convince a friend to do something they're not so sure about. You could say, come on, it'll be fun.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's like a gentle nudge.
It is. It's persuasive. And, I think that's what really makes someone sound fluent. It's that ability to use language in subtle ways to connect with people.
Yeah, it's not just about knowing the words. It's about knowing how to use them to get your message across.
Exactly.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here today. We've explored 22 power words that can really elevate our English fluency.
We have. And, the key takeaway here is that fluency isn't about being perfect. It's about trying things out, being willing to make mistakes.
Yeah, it's about having fun with language.
Exactly. And our source material really emphasizes that. Like, don't just listen to us talk about these words. Go out there and use them. Yes, put them into practice. Make them your own.
Exactly. That's how you really learn.
So we have a little challenge for our listeners. Pick one of these 22 words that really resonated with you and see if you can use it in a conversation today.
I love that challenge.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to get creative with it.
Exactly. The more you practice, the more natural it will become.
It will. And, it's not just about these 22 words. It's about being curious about language in general.
Yeah. Paying attention to how people use words.
And don't be afraid to experiment.
Exactly. Now, before we wrap up, I want to take a moment to just appreciate the power of language. It really is a remarkable thing when you think about it.
It is. It's how we connect, how we share, how we make sense of the world.
And these 22 words we've talked about today, they're like, little tools that can help us use language even more effectively.
They are like little keys to unlock even more possibilities.
So as we come to the end of this deep dive, I encourage you to keep exploring the magic of language. Keep learning, keep experimenting, and most importantly, keep having fun with it.
Beautifully said.
Thanks for joining us. It's amazing, isn't it, how we use language every single day, but we don't always stop to think about how powerful it really is.
It's true. It's like we take it for granted until we really start, digging into it.
And then you realize, wow, there's so much more to it than just, stringing words together.
Exactly. There's like this whole hidden world of meaning and nuance.
And these 22 words we've talked about, it's like they've given us a glimpse into that world.
Yeah. They're like, little secret weapons.
For sounding more fluent and confident.
Exactly.
And the best part is, it's not just about passively learning them, it's about actively using them.
And totally, like our source material really stressed that point. You have to put them into practice.
Mm-hmm. It's one thing to understand the concept, but it's another thing entirely to actually use them in your own conversations.
It's like, reading about how to ride a bike versus actually getting on a bike and riding it.
Exactly. You can't learn to swim by just sitting on the sidelines, right?
Yeah.
You got to jump in the water.
Jump in. And you might, splash around a little bit at first.
Yeah, you're going to make some mistakes.
You will. But that's part of the process.
That's how you learn.
That's how you learn. So I guess, what we're saying is don't be afraid to try these words out. Pick one that you like.
Mm-hmm. Or even just one that, stood out to you.
Exactly.
And just see if you can weave it into a conversation today. Maybe even make it a little game with yourself.
Yeah, I love that. See how many times you can use it naturally and, pay attention to how people react.
Yeah. See if they even notice. It'll be fun.
It will be. It'll be fun. And, as you start doing that, you'll start noticing other interesting ways that people use language.
It's like you become more aware of the nuances.
Right.
Right?
Exactly. You'll start picking up on things you never noticed before. And that's what will really help you sound more natural and fluent.
It's like you're training your ear to listen in a different way.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've reached the end of our deep dive into these 22 power words, and honestly, I'm feeling really inspired. It's, like you said earlier, language is such a gift.
It is. It's how we connect with each other, share our stories.
Create art, express our emotions.
Exactly.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It is. And these 22 words, they're just a small example of the power that language holds.
Yeah, it's like we've just scratched the surface.
We have. There's so much more to explore.
So keep exploring, keep learning. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. And most importantly, have fun with language.
Yes. Have fun with it.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep those words flowing.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back. You know how much we love to go deep here on the show.
We sure do.
And today we're going to take a deep dive into something that I think you are going to find super interesting.
Oh, yeah, this is good stuff.
This is all about how to improve your fluency when speaking English.
That's right.
And the crazy thing is it all comes down to just 22 words.
22 words. Yeah.
That's it.
Got it.
22 words to fluency. Who would have thought?
And you know what's even more amazing?
What's that?
A lot of these words are words that you probably already know.
Right. They're not big, fancy vocabulary.
Exact.
It's not like we're going to throw out some crazy SAT word
Yeah. No.
that you've never heard of before.
Yeah, these are words that you hear all the time.
Right, exactly.
You know, the thing is, even though they're simple words, a lot of English learners don't actually use them.
That's true.
And that's what's holding them back from sounding more natural and fluent.
I see. So it's not just about knowing the words. It's about actually using them in your conversations.
Absolutely.
That makes total sense.
And that's what we're going to focus on today.
Okay, so let's dive into these 22 magical words.
Let's do it.
The first two on the list are actually and definitely.
Good ones. Yeah.
I feel like I use these words all the time without even thinking about it.
Right, me too.
But why are they considered power words?
Well, let's start with actually.
Okay.
Actually is a really cool word because you can use it to correct someone politely.
Oh, I see.
Like, let's say someone says, hey, you must love coffee. You're always drinking it.
And I'm like, actually, I can't stand coffee. I just need the caffeine to survive.
Exactly.
So it's like a gentle way of saying, you're wrong, but I'm not going to be rude about it.
Right.
I like it.
It's also a great way to add a little bit of surprise to your sentence.
Oh, like
let's say you're telling a story and you say, and then I ran into my old friend from high school.
who I actually hadn't seen in over 10 years. Actually adds that element of surprise.
Yeah, it makes the story more interesting.
Cool. And what about
Definitely is all about certainty. It's like you're saying, I'm 100% sure about this.
So instead of just saying, yes, I'll come to your party,
You say, I will definitely be there.
which shows that I'm really serious about it
Right?
and that I'm not going to flake at the last minute.
Exactly. And that can make a big difference, especially in professional settings.
That's so true.
When you say, I will definitely finish this report by tomorrow.
It shows your boss that you're reliable.
Exactly.
You're committed.
And they can count on you.
Definitely a power word.
For sure.
Okay, so we've covered actually and definitely.
2 great words.
What's next on our list of fluency boosters?
How about maybe and probably?
Okay, so these are kind of the opposite of definitely
You could say that.
because they're all about uncertainty.
Right.
Like when you're not really sure about something,
Exactly. Like if someone invites you to a party and you don't want to commit yet,
you could say, maybe I'll come.
or I'll probably be there.
And it gives you a little wiggle room
Yeah, it keeps your options open.
and avoids any awkwardness.
Plus, it just sounds more natural than saying, I don't know.
That's a good point.
I don't know can sound a bit abrupt sometimes.
Right.
Especially in casual conversations.
So using maybe and probably is a way to soften your language.
Exactly.
I like it.
You know, a fun way to practice these words is to pay attention to how they're used in movies and TV shows.
Oh, that's a good idea.
You'll notice that native speakers use them all the time.
And it'll help you get a feel for the right context and intonation.
Yeah, it's like a free English lesson.
Awesome. Okay. Moving right along.
Let's do it.
We have, I think, and I guess,
2 more fantastic words.
these seem pretty similar to me.
They are similar, but there is a subtle difference.
Okay, fill me in.
I think is used when you have an opinion about something.
Right.
Like, I think this movie is great.
Got it.
I guess is used when you're not as sure about something.
So it's more like a speculation?
Exactly.
Like, I guess it's going to rain
So
today.
you're not really sure.
Right.
You're just making a guess based on the clouds you see.
So I think implies more confidence.
Yeah, you could say that.
And I guess is more hesitant.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm starting to see the nuances here,
It's all about the subtle shades of meaning.
which can make a big difference in how you come across in English.
For sure.
All right, let's move on to the next pair of words.
Okay.
These are all about making suggestions.
Oh, I love making suggestions.
You too.
Oh,
It's much more fun than just stating facts.
all right, exactly.
So what are these magical suggestion words?
Let's and shall we?
Let's is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's a simple way to invite someone to do something with you.
Like, let's go to the beach.
Or let's grab some lunch.
It's direct and enthusiastic.
And it gets the point across.
Now, what about shall we?
Shall we is a little bit more formal.
Okay.
It's still a suggestion.
But it adds a touch of politeness.
Like, shall we go for a walk in the park?
It sounds very British.
It does, doesn't it?
I like it.
It's a nice way to be polite and respectful.
Especially if you're talking to someone you don't know very well.
Right. Or someone older than you.
Makes sense.
So there you have it.
Let's and shall we?
2 powerful words for making suggestions.
And getting people to do what you want.
Well, maybe not always what you want.
But at least it's a polite way to ask.
That's true.
Awesome. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We sure have.
We've talked about actually and definitely,
Maybe and probably.
I think, and I guess.
And let's and shall we?
These 8 words might seem simple.
But they're incredibly powerful.
They can help you sound more
And
natural
you're confident?
and more fluent in English.
And that's what it's all about, right?
Absolutely.
So here's the challenge for everyone listening.
I love challenges.
Me too.
What is it?
Try to use at least one of these words in your next English conversation.
That's a great challenge.
Doesn't matter if it's with a friend, a colleague, or even a stranger,
Just try it out.
and see how it feels.
You might be surprised at how much of a difference it makes.
I bet you will.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Time flies when you're having fun with fluency.
It sure does. Thanks for joining us.
And until next time, keep practicing those power words. Bye, everyone. Yeah.
Okay, so you know how we love to just dive deep into a topic?
Yeah,
So let's do it again.
right into it.
Let's take another deep dive. And this time, we're going to focus on some basic building blocks.
Ooh, I like that.
The foundations
foundation
of English fluency.
Uh-huh.
For all of you out there who are tuning in to improve your English, whether you're traveling or working,
Yes.
or just want to feel more confident when you're chatting with folks,
Absolutely.
we have a great deep dive for you today because we're going to focus on 22 essential words
I love this.
that every beginner should know.
It's so true.
And you know what I have to admit?
Yeah.
In getting ready for this deep dive, even I learned a thing or two.
I'm not surprised.
So I'm really excited to jump into this.
Me too.
Let's get started.
Well, you know what's really cool about these 22 words that we're going to focus on today?
Yeah.
They're not just vocabulary.
Yeah.
They're actually tools for connection.
Yeah.
We often think about language in terms of all these grammar rules and complex sentences.
I know.
But sometimes it's the simplest words that have the biggest impact.
Yeah, that's so true.
Oh.
I was reading through the source material, just getting ready for this.
Yeah.
And it struck me how powerful just a simple hello can be.
It's true.
Just that one word, hello. It's like this universal signal to open a conversation.
It's that invitation to connect.
Yeah.
And it really transcends cultural boundaries and language barriers.
It does. It's so true.
It's pretty amazing.
And you know what? I think it's true for hello and goodbye and please and thank you.
Oh, for sure.
Those 4 words.
Yes.
It's almost like they're social lubricants.
They are.
Yeah.
Social lubricants that smooth out interactions and really just show respect.
Yeah, and respect is so huge.
It is.
When you're learning a new language or navigating a new culture,
Absolutely.
it's so important.
Couldn't agree more.
And you know what? I really liked how our source material emphasizes practicing these words in real life.
Yes.
Because it's one thing to know them.
Right.
But it's another to really
use them.
To use them.
You got to put them out there.
Yeah, you got to put them out there.
Yeah.
You can't just
keep them in your brain.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of navigating social situations, our source also dives into sorry and, excuse me.
Ooh, good ones.
2 words I kind of thought were interchangeable, but
I know a lot of people think that.
they're not.
Ah.
Not really. There are nuances. I learned.
Tell me about them.
Okay, so sorry is more about expressing regret or taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Like if you bump into someone and you make a mistake, is more about getting someone's attention politely or like asking permission to squeeze past someone in a crowded space.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that was interesting.
I did too. And, the source material even had a little bit about how different cultures use apologies differently.
I know.
Which I just find fascinating.
It's so interesting. It is. It is because like a simple sorry can mean so many different things depending on where you are and how you say it.
It's all about context.
It is all about context.
Yeah.
So let's move on to 2 words that I think are essential for any traveler or anyone in a new environment.
Love it.
Help and stop.
Oh, 2 very important words.
Very important words.
Yeah.
They're like your lifeline.
Seriously.
If you need help or you need something to stop.
Right then and there.
You need immediate assistance.
It's exactly.
So very important.
I actually had a personal experience that shows just how crucial knowing help and stop can be.
Oh, really?
I was traveling in, I don't remember where, but I was definitely in a foreign country, and I accidentally left my bag on a bus. Oh, it was awful. And I had my passport in there and everything. And in that moment of panic, all I could remember was to shout, "Stop." And thankfully, someone understood me and helped me retrieve my bag.
That's amazing.
It was amazing.
Wow.
And it really just drove home the importance of knowing these basic words.
Yeah.
Even if your grammar isn't perfect.
Exactly.
You can still get your point across.
That's a great story.
Thanks.
So speaking of travel,
Yes.
our source material also points out that how much and where are so important for navigating new places.
They really are.
Think about it if you can ask those 2 questions.
Yeah.
Independently. How much freedom
So much freedom.
and confidence that gives you when you're exploring.
It changes everything.
It does.
Yeah. It's huge.
You go from being a passive observer to an active participant.
I love that.
Right. You're not relying on someone else to translate or guide you.
Right.
You're actually taking charge of your experience.
Yes. And interacting with the world around you.
I love that.
It's really empowering.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of words.
We have.
But our source material doesn't just give us a list of words.
Right.
They actually give us a sample conversation
Oh, that's great.
that uses many of these 22 words in a real-life scenario.
I love that.
And it's such a good way to see how these seemingly simple words all come together to form a real interaction.
It's like putting all the pieces together.
Yeah.
You see how these words can flow naturally in a conversation.
Yeah.
And it gives you like a blueprint for how you can start using them yourself.
Exactly. And that brings us to our final thought for you today.
Okay, I'm ready.
So we've explored these 22 essential words as building blocks
Yes.
for fluency.
Uh-huh.
And it just proves that these small steps lead to big progress.
Absolutely.
But here's the challenge.
Okay.
Pick just 3
Okay.
of these 22 words
3 words.
and make a conscious effort to use them throughout your day.
Love it.
Just see how it feels. Notice the reactions you get,
Yeah.
and most importantly, have fun with it.
Yes.
Every interaction is a chance to practice and build your confidence.
That's a great challenge.
So thanks for joining us on another deep dive,
My pleasure.
and we'll see you next time.
Bye.